This guy was at a party in his pajamas, telling a 10-10 girl that he could predict the future. The girl texted a friend about a crazy guy at the party and asked to be picked up. The guy then told her that her friend wasn't coming. Her ex-boyfriend got back with her tonight. She would call to let her know in exactly 9 minutes and 13 seconds. The girl had texted secretly, so there was no way he could know the topic, but she still accused him of being a lunatic. A group of men showed up at the party. One of the guys thought the girl was hot and wanted to check out her curves. The girl tried to resist, but when men use force, it's usually impossible to escape. Then the guy from before spoke up. "Forget the girl, come here, you brat." The blonde thug couldn't handle being disrespected in front of the others, so he launched a surprise attack. But the guy didn't even flinch. Damn, this guy is cold. He needed to break him with a punch. With a smooth movement, Wu Chen dodged and sent the bully flying a few meters with just a single punch to the chin. The guys were shocked. Then more men appeared. A man in a black suit said anyone who attacks his men is a dead man. Wu Chen said something that left the man speechless. "Didn't your brother Zhao teach you any manners? I think I should give him a call." So Wu Chen called and explained what was happening, mentioning a war starting in China because of this. If he wanted the May meeting to go well, he better fix it. Wu Chen dropped the bomb on the chubby boss. It really was his brother on the phone. Everyone was forced to bow their heads and beg for forgiveness for being rude. Wu Chen did not lose his composure for a second, so now the girl is hopelessly interested in him. Earlier, this guy was saying he's been stuck in the same day for 1,000 years. You know how it is. At first, it seems like paradise. Every day you wake up, it's July 7th, 2020. You spend all your money, place bets, and even commit crimes. The next day, everything resets. When her friend called and confirmed she couldn't come because she was back with her boyfriend, things started getting interesting. The girl looked at Wu Chen in shock. Was this guy telling the truth? She still didn't quite believe it, but there was a way to confirm his story. She walked up to the car as Wu Chen was leaving. She knew that car belonged to someone else, so he must have stolen it. Wu Chen just said, "Tomorrow none of this will be a problem for me." The girl then said he wouldn't have a problem taking a beautiful girl with him tonight. Wu Chen is a legend. He told her a girl who hides behind that much makeup is too ugly for him. The girl was furious, but she didn't leave. She wiped her face and revealed a miracle. She was beautiful even without all the plaster. But Wu Chen just said she's a 9-10. Even so, she could get in, and she'd enjoy the double bed. She tried to play it cool, but the result was obvious. She got in, and they went to a hotel. Early the next morning, Wu Chen opened his eyes, ready to restart his infinite time loop. But he got the biggest scare of his 1,000 years. The girl was still there. She wanted an explanation because now it was the 8th, so she thought everything was a lie. Wu Chen had lost all hope of escaping, but now, right in front of him, the loop was finally over. The woman questions Wu Chen about what kind of man would be hiding in the bathroom, and furthermore demands a clear explanation. Inside the shower, he realizes that it wasn't a dream, and that, finally, time had started flowing again. Thus, he feels free from that strange game involving time and space. With his arms raised, he shouts to the world, "I'm finally here." Soon after, a notification appears before him, and he wonders if he has awakened some system. His physical attributes seem common, but his mental power is extraordinarily high. Faced with this, he begins to reflect on the true meaning of being able to reset time whenever he wants. The system confirms the ability and explains that the point cost increases with each reset performed on the same day. Previously just an ordinary student, he now possesses over 1,000 maximum level abilities, which proves the 1,000 years he has lived. With time proceeding normally, he will finally be able to use all these abilities. Hidden, the woman watches him closely and wonders if he has gone mad. Then she carefully approaches and asks if he is all right. Wu Chen states that it was the best day in 1,000 years, but she asks him to stop talking like that. At that moment, knocks on the door interrupt them, accompanied by threats involving a stolen car. So, the woman cautiously approaches and looks through the peephole. From the other side of the door, a man shouts, "Open up, or I'll break it down." She accuses him of having stolen someone's car, while Wu Chen replies that he didn't know it would be a normal day. Then, he reveals he stole Wang's car, and the woman warns him, saying, "He is a famous man in the underworld. Wang carries a great story of overcoming those who were above him. After his parents were attacked, he ended up in prison, and later, upon his release, he built his name until he became powerful in East China." Because of this, she states that Wu Chen messed with someone extremely powerful, and that now, he is practically dead. Still, he replies that this is a very small problem. Finally, Wu Chen compares the situation to having used Li Gongzi's name, something that could easily cause the death of many people. The woman asks what he intends to do. Calmly, the answer comes. It's something simple. Wu Chen decides to just start all over again, and so he asks the system to use the time reset. The system then initiates the first reset, returning to July 8, 2020. Time time returns exactly to the moment the woman shows her phone and demands an explanation. Thus, Wu Chen realizes that time has indeed been reset. She insists again, demanding that he explain himself at that very moment. Without beating around the bush, Wu Chen interrupts her and says, "There's no time for explanations. Get dressed." Annoyed, the woman accuses him of being irresponsible and claims he just wants to get rid of her. In response, he explains that he stole Wang Zhengyuan's car, but she retorts, saying that as an ordinary person, she cannot get involved with someone like that. Soon after, she questions if he even knows who she is. She then continues, stating that if he knows, he will have to beg for her help. Wu Chen approaches and asks, "Should I beg the same way you did last night?" Overwhelmed with rage, she pushes him, calling him a bastard and saying, "I'll let you die." In a calm tone, he regrets disappointing her, but states that he knows someone who can easily solve this. Faced with this, the woman asks what kind of person it would be. Finally, Wu Chen replies, "It's a woman with a big heart." Cars chase the boss's vehicle at high speed through the city. One of the men points a gun and threatens to kill him if he doesn't stop the car. The woman warns that they have guns, but Wu Chen thinks that's the fun part. She calls him crazy for driving so fast, and he replies that he will be killed if caught. The pursuers receive orders to catch the thief and retrieve the boss's car. Meanwhile, Li Robing answers a call from an unknown number. Wu Chen informs her that a traitor on her team will make her lose the bet. He refuses to reveal his identity, but offers information about her brother. Wu Chen proposes a meeting in half an hour to talk in person, but Li Robing insists on knowing who he is. They end up surrounded, and the woman screams, "We're trapped!" Then he tells her to watch as he executes an impressive drift. One of the henchmen is surprised by his skill, but his boss tells him to stop praising and capture him. The chase continues on the expressway as the woman screams for help. Wu Chen announces, "We've arrived at your house." The woman stares at him in silence for a moment. He then parks the car in front of the residence. She questions him, "How do you know where I live?" Then she gives up on the question herself, imagining he will say he has lived for 1,000 years. The woman praises his driving skills and asks, "Where did you learn them?" Wu Chen replies, "I died many times to master the technique." He advises her not to learn from him, as she only has one chance. She tells him to stop lying and warns him not to expect a call. After he leaves, she calls him a bastard. The woman concludes that he tricked her all night and now thinks she will call. Then she suspects a friend set up the situation and decides she will question her. Li Robing is a famous businesswoman from Donghai City with a very complicated past. Her brother is a man capable of destroying all of East China, and Wu Chen had a deep relationship with her. In the president's office, a man announces Wu Chen's arrival. Li Robing then dismisses her subordinate, saying, "You can go down first." She reads Wu Chen's data aloud, detailing his background, family, and mentioning his sister, Wu Jiao. He congratulates her for finding out so much information just from his phone number. As she tears up the report, she comments, "You seem common, but a common person wouldn't know about the bet." Li Robing stands up and questions him directly. "Who are you?" Wu Chen approaches and proposes to reveal the traitor's identity in exchange for 10 million. She questions the proposal of making a deal with a stranger for unverified information. Then she asks, "Do you really think I'll agree to that?" Pointing a gun at him, Li Robing demands, "Explain yourself, or you won't leave here alive." He acknowledges that she would shoot, but reveals the gun's cartridge in his hand and asks, "How will you do that now?" Li Robing checks her weapon and realizes the magazine had been removed, even though it was under the table. At that instant, she remembers when he discreetly approached the table. Wu Chen introduces himself as a shrewd businessman. He also explains that the way he removed the magazine is part of that intelligence. Then he asks her to trust his ability to obtain information, stating that he is only there for money. To get close to her, a reason is necessary, and money serves precisely to lower her psychological defenses. Sitting, she stares at him and challenges him to reveal what else he knows. He then reveals that she is the eldest daughter of the Li family, someone who fought to prove her own worth but never escaped her brother's shadow. Wu Chen continues, explaining that she resisted the arranged marriage with Ding Ruilong out of concern for her mother. The 3 fake boyfriends she had met tragic fates due to a maneuver by Ding Ruilong to keep her away from other men. To escape this marriage, she and Ding Ruilong made a secret bet on who would build the biggest business in 5 years. However, what she doesn't know is that he keeps a spy by her side, ready to ruin everything on launch day. After that, Wu Chen asks if he still needs to continue speaking. Li Robing immediately stands up and demands to know who the traitor is. Calmly, Wu Chen merely confirms that he will tell her. At that moment, a man enters the meeting room. Senior Assistant Feng Yan approaches and asks Li Robing to sign a document. Wu Chen identifies him as the traitor and slams his head against the table. Then he questions him about $5 million deposited into a Swiss account, but the man denies any involvement. Without backing down, Wu Chen presses him against the table and asks if he really intends to remain silent. Li Ruobing notices Feng Yan's cell phone receiving a call from Ding Ruilong. She confronts him, saying, "I never imagined I would be sold for only $5 million. The man falls to his knees, admits to having accepted the money, and says he needs to tell her something important. Wu Chen warns her not to believe him, explaining that Ding Ruilong knows her mother is her weak point. Then he tells her to decide what to do with the traitor. Li Ruobing sends the man away, ordering him, "Never appear before me again." As he leaves the room, he repeatedly thanks her. Wu Chen comments that he thought she would kill him. She replies, "By nightfall, he will be at the bottom of the river encased in cement." Still, Li Ruobing remains distrustful, suspecting that he was sent by Ding Ruilong to gain her trust. Wu Chen admits that it does seem suspicious, but claims to have a way to clear all doubts. Given this, Li Ruobing asks, what would that way be? Simply, he proposes to become her hired boyfriend. He explains that Ding Ruilong cares too much about his image, and therefore, becoming her boyfriend is the best way to prove her innocence. Li Ruobing reminds him that her 3 previous fake boyfriends were all ruined by Ding Ruilong. Aware of this, he argues that for people who want to grow, a relationship with her would make life much more interesting. She admits that he is special and courageous, but still questions if he feels no fear. With his weapon pointed at his own head, he replies that he fears nothing, as she would only call someone if she truly wanted to kill him. With that, she states that she truly likes him. Li Ruobing approaches and comments that couples should always have an intimate photo. The two then take a selfie together with the phone camera. From that day on, he becomes her boyfriend and personal assistant, and she finally questions him about her brother. Wu Chen reveals that her brother manages the East China Sea Crown, one of China's largest entertainment venues. She states that everyone in East China knows this, but he adds that the venue has been under investigation for 3 months. According to the information he possesses, the network of contacts will be dismantled in at most 1 month. Li Ruobing demands to know exactly what he meant by that. He explains that the problem doesn't just involve her brother, but the entire Li family who might need to cut ties with him. Wu Chen simply replies for her not to ask any more questions. That night, the scene unfolds in front of the East China Sea Crown Entertainment Club. One of the henchmen begins to report everything that happened to the boss. Wang Zhangyuan, Li Ruotai's right-hand man, gets angry when he learns that the young man injured his men and still used the boss's name. The left-hand man, Zhao Ehuazi, finds it strange that the boy knew about the rally and still had his phone number. With that, Li Ruotai orders them to find him, as he intends to kill him with his own hands. At that moment, Li Ruobing enters the room and surprises everyone. She walks towards her brother, who asks them to put out their cigarettes as she doesn't like the smell. Li Ruobing announces that she has come to introduce someone and points directly at Wu Chen. Wu Chen throws the keys to him and explains that he only borrowed the car the day before. Wang Zhangyuan immediately recognizes him and points him out as the man who used the boss's name. As the eldest and favored grandson, Li Ruotai's strength is comparable to Ding Ruilong's. Li Ruobing grew up protecting her brother, which made him both respect and fear her. Li Ruotai then points at the young man and asks his sister who he is. She twists her brother's ear and introduces Wu Chen as her new brother-in-law. The men around look at the boss and also question if he really is the brother-in-law. He asks if his sister is using another fake boyfriend trick and demands a reason to accept someone so ordinary. Li Ruobing apologizes, claiming she hasn't been feeling well lately. Soon after, she blames him for the entire situation. Wu Chen questions her about the drama and asks if she is afraid that Ding Ruilong will kill him. She states that she feels no fear, but ends up hesitating before finishing the sentence. Then he casually comments that her brother looks completely stunned. Li Ruotai asks if his sister is pregnant and if the child is that man's. He then observes that Wu Chen is not bad-looking, but he is far from being the most handsome. Furthermore, he starts to wonder why his sister, who always liked older men, would be with someone barely in his 20s. With that in mind, he questions if Wu Chen might be trying to deceive her. Convinced of this, he decides that he needs to save his sister from that man. Soon after, Li Ruotai asks how the two met. Wu Chen replies that it happened 3 months ago when she was recruiting interns at a university. Li Ruobing is internally surprised and wonders how he knows this, as the information is true. Her brother then questions her for only knowing the young man for 3 months and asks if she truly trusts him. He then accuses Wu Chen of having been with another woman at the Lotus Bar the day before. Wu Chen clarifies that the woman was Mu Jianqian, daughter of the owner of the East China Sea Mu Biomedical Group. Furthermore, he states that Li Ruotai should thank him as he prevented Liu Huzi from making a move on her. The Mu Group is a true powerhouse, and if the East China Group is a dragon, theirs is nothing but a small snake. Even if they managed to win a dispute against the Mu Group, they would still have to pay an extremely high price. Li Ruotai understands the gravity of the situation and for that thanks him, starting to call him brother. Li Ruobing comments that she didn't expect to see her brother being subdued by Wu Chen, but she interrupts him to discuss something important. She reveals that someone from above intends to close the Crown Club. He reacts, screaming, "That's impossible! I took care of everything, and I would certainly know if that were true." Wu Chen warns him, saying, "You shouldn't have used a video to blackmail those people, and the business with Jihu should have already been terminated." His sister confronts him for still maintaining contact with Z while he tries to calm down to explain. Wu Chen confirms that Z betrayed him and placed all the blame on him. Li Ruotai questions, "How could you know about my business since not even my own sister knew about it?" Wu Chen states, "I don't need to clarify anything for you. I'm here for her, and I'm only helping you so she won't be sad." With a raised finger, Li Ruotai threatens him, saying, "You won't leave here alive if you don't explain yourself." Li Ruobing asks him to calm down so that Wu Chen can finish speaking, but her brother refuses to believe what he calls lies. Finally, Wu Chen reveals that 4 months ago, Luo Bo was transferred to the police department to take over the club's case. He explains that investigators disguised themselves as customers and thus gathered a large amount of evidence. He then hands over a list containing the names of the undercover agents. Li Ruotai orders a subordinate, warn everyone and start grabbing the weapons. Soon after, he tells the same man, "Take your thugs to investigate the names on the list." Furthermore, he makes it clear, if the information is wrong, the responsibility will be entirely yours. Sitting on the sofa, Wu Chen just asks, "How much money are you willing to spend?" Li Ruotai examines a camera carefully. Suddenly, he slams the device against the table and screams, "Immediately capture everyone on that list!" Wu Chen warns him, "If even one of them escapes, the police will act as there is evidence involving a casino." Furious, Li Ruotai punches the table and demands, "What should I do?" Then he is asked if he prefers to go to jail or get out of this safely, and he ends up asking, "Is there any solution?" Wu Chen, in turn, advises him, "Tell your men not to act yet." Finally, Li Ruotai turns to him and asks, "What should be the next step?" The young man replies, "Just apologize. I'll take care of everything." Li Ruotai realizes he needs to show some respect after all. Wu Chen is now part of the family. Li Ruobing asks him to help, reminding him that they are family, but Wu Chen states that her brother doesn't see him that way. At this, Li Ruotai laughs and assures him that, of course, he considers him part of the family. He apologizes, saying he only feared Wu Chen was deceiving his sister, but the young man questions if that is really true. Just for her sake, Wu Chen decides to give him an idea. First, he advises that Siehu be killed, as he knows too much, and nothing will work as long as he remains alive. Yehu used to go to Village 17 to use drugs with his lover, so no one would suspect if he died of an overdose. Li Ruotai agrees, considering the idea excellent. Secondly, all the evidence is with Liao Bo, so it's enough to obtain and destroy it to ensure security. Li Ruotai agrees again and states that he will get him. Wu Chen calls him crazy and explains that Liao Bo is too important to simply be captured. He then reveals the exact location of a hidden safe, including the password, and explains that since it's a secret mission, they just need to steal and destroy the evidence. Li Ruotai is surprised by the level of detail in the information, especially when he hears the safe's password. As a third point, Wu Chen says that everything must be told to the elder, especially the dealings with Shehu, since the Wei family is involved. The Li and Wei families have been enemies for years and have already been at war, which forced Master Li to ally with the Ding family. Wu Chen warns that the Wei family will take the opportunity to attack the Li family, and that the elder needs to be aware of this. Li Ruotai agrees and states that he will talk to him. As a final step, Wu Chen suggests setting fire to the Crown Club. His brother questions him about the need for a fire. He explains that a small fire, reported by the media, would justify closing the place without raising suspicion. Wu Chen guarantees that if these 4 things are done, everything will be fine. Li Ruobing holds her brother's arm and asks if he understood, while he reassures her by saying that he did. Li Ruotai receives a call and discovers that he lost 2 billion, then announces that he is already on his way. He tells his sister that something happened at the casino and asks her to wait. Wu Chen reveals that it was Shen Guangjun, owner of Fusheng Aluminum, and his brother questions how he knows this. At one of the tables, the dealer shakes the cup and shouts to the gamblers. He explains that Shen Guangjun arrived the day before with experts from Macau, determined to avenge the humiliation he suffered. Wu Chen concludes that, inside a casino, it doesn't matter who you are, because everyone ends up screwed there. He explains that the casino business relies on deceiving people to steal their money. Shen Guangjun lost hundreds of millions, and because of that, he ended up discovering that many other rich rich people had also been deceived. So, he decided to tell everything to the Wei family, who took the opportunity to unite with others and take down the Li family. Under normal circumstances, he wouldn't dare challenge them, but now he knows they are finished. Li Ruotai states that he will not live for long for daring to mess with him. As they walk through the casino, Wu Chen advises him to remain calm and not get agitated. The Crown Club player admits defeat. Shen Guangjun gathers the chips and celebrates, saying, "I'm rich." One of those present congratulates him on a good hand as the group approaches. He comments that he won a lot of money, but Li Ruotai replies that the Li family can afford that small loss. Shen Guangjun provokes him, stating that all the club's experts lost, and that he doesn't seem to have any talents under his command. Wu Chen sits at the table and disagrees with the provocation, then shuffles the cards with great skill. With a good hand, he invites Boss Shen to play 2 rounds. Shen Guangjun laughs and questions how there's a novice there, besides commenting that Mr. Li is being too modest. He then adds that the man has already lost 200 million against him and still wants to continue playing. A young man wonders if his brother-in-law is also skilled in games, but Li Robing admits she's not sure. The opponent at the table explains that true masters read their opponent's psychology, something a young person would hardly have the experience to do. Wu Chen merely states that he can guess the man's cards by observing his expression. Li Rubing approaches, calls the young man, and asks if he's really up to the task, while receiving the assurance that he can defeat any casino in the world. At that moment, the opponent realizes that Wu Chen doesn't look at the hidden cards and questions if that's a gaming habit. The young man then turns over his card, revealing an ace of spades. Given this, the opponent concedes the turn, stating that the presented hand is higher. Soon after, the chips are placed on the table along with the announcement of a 500,000 bet. The other adjusts his glasses and simply covers the amount bet. The dealer distributes new cards across the table and asks for the next bet. Then she turns to another player who announces his fold. The rounds advance with constant bets of 500,000, accompanied by alternating folds from both sides. Wu Chen declares, "I won once again." A man comments to Shen Guangjun that the hired person seems to be running out of luck, but still believes that Boss Li will have a stroke of luck. Shen Guangjun replies that the boy thinks victory is near, although he has already fallen into the trap. In a flashback, the player explains his habit of losing on purpose to analyze the opponent, while Shen Guangjun states that everything will depend on him inside the casino. Another observer comments that Li Ruotai has already lost more than 200 million, and given that, refusing to continue playing becomes difficult. In the 30th round, the dealer asks for the next bet, and Wu Chen announces 1 million. The opponent realizes that the bet was made without even looking at the cards and still decides to pay. Soon after, the young man challenges him to bet another million. Finally, the opponent reveals that he had a terrible hand, while the other had a pair of kings, guaranteeing an almost certain victory. Given the situation, the player decides to bet everything. The young man observes that given the cards on the table, his brother-in-law has a higher chance of winning, although the outcome is still uncertain. Wu Chen also declares, "I'm going to bet everything." In response, the opponent suggests adding another 100 million to the table. However, the reply comes that 100 million is not enough, followed by the proposal of 200 million in chips. 2 women approach and bring more chips to the gaming table. Wu Chen raises the bet by another 100 million and asks what the other's decision will be. Attentive, the opponent notices that the young man only points to the hidden card when it really matters. From this, he concludes that there is a high probability that the card is an ace. Without proceeding, he folds the round and comments that Wu Chen was too eager, as he could have won another 50 million. Li Ruobing states that the card is an ace, but the response comes in the form of a denial. Soon after, the revelation shows that the card was, in fact, a 2 of hearts. Irritated, the opponent accuses the young man of having deceived him, while hearing in response, "You lacked the courage to continue." He then admits to having understood another one of the opponent's habits. The card revealed on the table is a 9 of diamonds. Analyzing the situation, the player concludes that unless the hidden card is the 9 of spades, defeat is impossible. Shen Guangjun confirms that the main point was the fact that there was no look at the hidden cards. Convinced, the opponent decides that the time has come and states, "The net is closed." Finally, he proposes one last hand to decide the winner, betting his 200 million, and Wu Chen accepts the challenge. Li Ruobing questioned if a bet over 200 million wouldn't be too risky, but the young man beside her stated there was no problem. Shen Guangjun observed that the player under his command showed great confidence. Next, the opponent pushed the chips to the center of the table and confirmed the bet. Meanwhile, he commented to Wu Chen, "In a game, the most important thing is not to lose your head." He also added, "Without control over your own mind, no one can go very far." Soon after, the card was revealed revealed, a 9 of diamonds, accompanied by the declaration, "The 200 million already belong to me." The opposing group reacted immediately, believing victory was guaranteed and that the match had ended. Taking advantage of the moment, Shen Guangjun provoked Mr. Li, asking if he would really care about losing such a small amount. Wu Chen, in turn, simply invited Li Robing to look at the card with her own eyes. To everyone's surprise, the card revealed was a 9 of spades. Faced with this, the opponent questioned him, incredulous, wanting to know how and when the cards were read. In response came only the question, "Did you really believe nothing had been observed?" Wu Chen explained that he checked the cards since the first round, doing so without the other person noticing. He then stated, "The opponent is a good player, but too confident to understand my style in just a few hands." He also left the doubt hanging. Were those flaws really flaws? And were those habits in fact habits? Wu Chen further questioned if the other person really believed they were being tricked, reinforcing that he had always been in control of the game. The young man then reminded Shen Guangjun that all the money used was borrowed, and now he was in trouble. The player tried to explain himself, but was interrupted with the suggestion to talk outside. Before that could happen, Wu Chen stopped them and asked, "Where do you think you're going?" Shen Guangjun reacted, questioning, "Can't I leave after losing?" He then accused Mr. Li of treating his guests badly. Finally, Li Robing's companion asked Wu Chen, "Why can't they leave?" Wu Chen stated that he would explain everything later and asked them to lend him a knife. Next, he displayed the blade and calmly asked, "What do you think of this?" In a swift movement, he grabbed the opponent's arm, causing an ace of spades to fall from inside his sleeve. Then he revealed that he noticed the card theft during a check, but chose not to expose the trick since he hadn't won yet. The man who lent the knife exploded in indignation, questioning, "How dare someone cheat in front of me?" Soon after, he turned to Shen Guangjun and demanded an explanation. The player started to stutter, trying to claim that it was all just a misunderstanding. Wu Chen grabbed him from behind and forcefully threw him onto the table. Next, he pressed the man's hand against the surface and asked, "Do you know what happens when the rules are broken?" Without hesitation, he stated, "Now you must face the consequences." Standing over the fallen body, Wu Chen stared at Shen Guangjun and asked, "What do you have to say?" The answer came in the form of a denial, stating, "I had no involvement, and the cheating was the other guy's initiative." After that, the knife was returned, along with the order for the man to handle the rest, as their departure was already decided. Before leaving, there was still a warning, "Don't try to touch them inside the club." As they walked, Li Robing asked, "Did you feel good about stabbing someone's hand?" She received an immediate negative. Intrigued, the woman questioned that response. Finally, he turned and asked, "How would you feel about cutting your own hand?" In the car, Li Robing comments that she didn't expect him to be such a skilled player. Wu Chen thanks her for the compliment, but reminds her, "Don't forget to pay my bills." She simply replies, "You only think about money." Soon after, a question arises about what is happening. He leans back in his seat and informs her, "A car is following us." At the same time, in the car behind, the driver tells his boss, "We are also being followed." Faced with this, Li Robing orders, "Get rid of the pursuer." She then assumes, "The pervert Ding Ruilong still likes to send people to watch me." Wu Chen denies this possibility and states, "It's not him." Furthermore, he adds, "The men's target is not you." Calmly, he places his hand over hers and asks her not to be afraid, guaranteeing, "I will take care of everything." Soon after, the woman comments, "He's probably hungry." Li Robing then says, "For what you did today, you deserve something special." At the restaurant, Wu Chen asks, "Aren't you afraid people might think of me as a competitor since many people know you here?" She replies without hesitation, "I actually want more people to get to know you." At that moment, a man approaches, greets Ms. Li and asks, "Did you also come to eat?" She confirms and explains, "My boyfriend wanted Cantonese food, which is why I brought him here." She then introduces Wu Chen. This is Mr. Han from the Longcheng Innovation Group. Mr. Han greets him cordially, saying, "It's a pleasure to meet you. You perfectly suit Ms. Li." Wu Chen thanks him for his kindness. The man then apologizes for the interruption. Before leaving, he explains, "My client has arrived and I need to go." After that, Li Robing comments, "Han Deli is a good man and also an official of the East China Sea Chamber of Commerce." Wu Chen states, "I don't need introductions. I know him better than you imagine." She agrees, saying, "He is one of the best businessmen around here." Then he comments, "Not everyone must want to be your friend." Li Robing agrees, explaining, "I have many rivals, especially women." She also adds, "It's foolish to think of me as an enemy." Wu Chen agrees as a voice approaches, recognizing Miss Li. A blonde woman appears and asks, "Since when do you have a boyfriend?" Wu Chen observes carefully, making it clear that she is a business competitor. Liu Kaixia comments on the age difference between the two, provoking Li Robing. She says, "There's quite an age difference between you two." Faced with this, Li Robing requests that she stop, stating, "I will take that as a joke out of consideration for Lu Laoban." Even so, the provocation continues with the question, "Do you still care about other people's opinions?" Li Robing stands up and yells, "Stop it!" But Wu Chen holds her hand before the drink is thrown. Calmly, he says, "Go easy and control yourself." He then offers, "I'll resolve this situation." He stands up and faces Liu Kaixia. She questions him, asking, "Why are you staring at me like that?" Wu Chen replies, "It's nothing much. I just have a feeling I've seen you before." Finally, he remembers and asks, "Have you ever worked in a nightclub?" Liu Kaixia accuses him of slander and asks, "Do you know who you're talking to?" Wu Chen replies, "Your past cannot be erased with plastic surgery." Surprised, the woman wonders, "How does he know I worked in nightclubs and had aesthetic procedures? That happened 10 years ago." Reliving comments, "Your intelligence network is better than I imagined." Still, he says, "It's too early for admiration. The best part is yet to come." At that moment, a man approaches Kaixia and asks, "What is this commotion?" She asks him to get revenge, stating she was insulted. He comforts her and promises everything will be resolved. Then, the man turns to Li Rubing and asks, "Who is that person?" She introduces him. "He is my boyfriend, Wu Chen." The man then states, "By humiliating my wife, you have directly offended me. This will not be resolved with a few words." Wu Chen calmly replies, "There is someone capable of resolving this for me." Lu Guanyan asks, "Do you really believe you wouldn't be touched just by being next to Ms. Li?" The young man then clarifies, "I am not talking about her." Soon after, he reveals, "The person I mentioned is Ma Huifang." The man stares at him, shocked, and asks, "How do you know that name?" Wu Chen approaches Lu Guanyan and asks, "Can we talk for a minute?" Taking him to a corner, he says, "I have 2 stories to tell. The first begins with Liu Liwan, who 10 years ago went to a nightclub looking for quick money and ended up meeting a rich client. This man worked in demolitions and, after a fight, heard from a doctor that he would have difficulty having children in the future. Drunk, the client ended up revealing this secret, and upon discovering it, Liu Lihuan devised a plan. She had plastic surgeries, changed her name to Liu Kaishu, and began to present herself as the man's lover. 3 months later, Liu Kaishu became pregnant and gave birth to a boy. Wu Chen reveals that the child was not the client's, but rather the result of her relationship with another lover, and that both paid a doctor to falsify the paternity test. He states that Lu Guanyan must have noticed the boy didn't look like him, but chose to ignore it due to his strong desire to have a son. Finally, he explains that the last part of the plan was to let him die in an accident and then take his billions. Lu Guanyan reacts, "I cannot believe all of that based on just a few words." Wu Chen then asks about his wife's cousin who works at his company. He reveals, in fact, he is her lover. He then concludes, "The 2 of them are still betraying you." Wu Chen informs Lu Guanyan, "The previous afternoon, your wife left with her lover using the stairs to avoid being seen. I suggest you check the security cameras." He adds, "You can also simply question her directly." However, he explains, "To make her confess the truth, it will be necessary to deceive her a little." Soon after, the man approaches and calls out, "Kaishu!" He asks, "Were you and your cousin at the office yesterday?" She confirms, but Lu contradicts her, saying, "Your cousin told me you 2 had gone out to visit a client." Faced with this, she claims, "You must be mistaken." Without hesitation, Lu offers, "I'll call and confirm the story." At that moment, Kaishu changes her version of events and begins to question him. "Why didn't you defend me from the young man who insulted me?" Lu Guanyan slaps her face and shouts, "Do you think I don't know about the scandal between the 2 of you?" Then he orders her, "Leave." As the woman walks away, he still warns her, "I will settle scores later." After that, Lu turns to the couple and apologizes, "I'm sorry for what happened." Li Robing assures him, "We will not tell anyone." The man then confides, "I only wished to have a child and never imagined I would be used in such a way." Lu Guanyan states that he accepted the fate of never having a child, but Wu Chen contradicts him. "You have a very good son." Confused, the older man questions, "What do you mean?" Finally, Wu Chen reminds him, there is still a second story to be told. He starts the second story, talking about a couple of childhood friends who fell in love and believed they would spend the rest of their lives together. However, the man became rich, betrayed her, and ran off with his mistress, taking all the money, unaware that his former partner was pregnant. She gave birth to a boy, broke ties with her own parents, and raised him alone, telling her son that his father had died. The boy built a successful career, started his own family, and now everyone lives happily. Lu Guanyan then asks what the son's name is. Wu Chen replies, "His name is Ma Jiaowei, named after his mother." Then the man asks if she didn't remarry. He confirms that she didn't, as she stopped trusting men. She lives in Donghai and certainly knows that he became rich. Even so, she never looked for him, as she was deeply hurt by him. Wu Chen gives her address to Lu Guanyan, stating that it's up to him to find out if forgiveness still exists. Lu Guanyan walks away, promising that if he manages to get back with her, he'll owe him a favor. Li Robing comments, "Now he really owes you a favor." Wu Chen agrees, saying, "That could be useful in the future." After that, he bids farewell to to Li Robing, gets out of the car and says, "I'll see you tomorrow." At that moment, she calls him back, stating that she needs to tell him something important. He leans in and asks, "What is it about?" Then, the woman pulls him by his jacket and kisses him. She explains, "Since Ding Rulong likes to spy on me, I'll make sure to make him uncomfortable." He asks, "Was that your first kiss?" Li Robing questions, "Is that also part of your intelligence?" The young man complains, "Your technique hurt my mouth." The young man says goodbye and walks away from the car. The scene changes to an apartment building during the night. Inside an apartment, a young woman comments, "I'm hungry." However, the other insists, "We need to wait for the pervert." Hu Xiaowei laments, saying, "I wish I had done that." Still, her friend states, "She was brainwashed, and I guarantee he won't escape so easily." The girl then asks, how could he know so much about her life since no one told him anything? In response, her friend denies having said anything and emphasizes, "Right now, the most important thing is to teach that pervert a lesson." The long-haired woman explains, "I just wanted to ask about the guy and didn't expect such a reaction." The two talk in the hallway as Wu Chen appears in the background. One of them spots him and points. He's there. He turns with a smile and confirms his presence. The young woman accuses him, "You're horrible and you betrayed her." But he retorts, "Why did you look for him?" Immediately, her friend steps in front of her and orders, "Stay away from her." Wu Chen merely comments, "I'm going to open the door." The short-haired girl asks, "Is she being ignored?" She advances to attack him, but her friend asks her to stop. At that moment, Wu Chen reveals Hu Xiaowei is being betrayed. This leaves her confused. He explains, 4 days ago, her boyfriend first went to meet his mistress and only sought her out when he ran out of money. The short-haired woman asks, "Is that true?" Wu Chen suggests, "Call your boyfriend if you don't believe it." Annoyed, she says, "I'll call to prove you're wrong because I trust my own judgment when it comes to men." On the phone, she asks where her boyfriend is, but he deflects and claims he left money at home. Then she realizes he really isn't there and runs out to kill him, while her friend tries to follow her. However, Wu Chen holds her in his arms and invites her in. Hu Xiaowei asks, "Why was I carried?" He replies, "A princess shouldn't get tired." However, she insists, "I can walk on my own." She asks to be put down. Even so, he ignores her and carries her into the apartment, while she continues to demand that he let her go. The next morning, Wu Chen sits on the bed. While tying his shoes, he asks why she hasn't gotten up yet. Lying down, the woman complains, "You ruined my beauty sleep." He hands her his phone number, saying, "Next time you should call instead of waiting at home." From inside a car, a masked man watches as he drives away. Wu Chen makes a call and asks the other person to meet him at the training ground. There, he trains intensely, as he needs to refine his techniques after offending Ding Rulong. Shortly after, he stops training and announces that the visitor has arrived. Previously, Wang Zhengyuan was just a figurehead, but he gained power and expanded his influence with the help of Li Tai. In a few years, he became the youngest among the 4 bosses who control 90% of the entertainment industry. Wang Zhengyuan approaches and tries to explain that he sent someone to follow him only to ensure his safety. However, Wu Chen informs him that Li Ruotai probably doesn't know he was following him along with Robing. He also warns him that Li Ruotai is extremely protective of his sister. The young man then reassures him, stating that if he wanted to reveal something, he wouldn't have called him there. Wang Zhengyuan then asks, "What do you really want?" Wu Chen replies, "I want to be your friend because, with so many subordinates, you might need help someday." The man agrees and says, "Don't hesitate to ask for support in the future. With your help, everything will be easier, as even though I have a lot of information, I don't have as much manpower." At that moment, he receives an urgent call notifying him that something has happened, and he replies that he's already on his way. Before leaving, Wang Zhengyuan offers his car and some clothes as an apology, saying, "You can use them for transportation in the future." Wu Chen accepts the offer without any hesitation. In an office, a woman on the phone laments that there are no more openings, while another tries to reschedule an appointment. Li Robing hangs up after learning that the person won't be able to attend the press conference, just as Wu Chen arrives. As soon as he enters, he asks, "Did something happen?" She explains that the new spokesperson suffered a car accident, and this happened right after he discovered Ding Rulong's plans. Wu Chen states, "Clearly, this isn't a coincidence." Annoyed, Li Robing comments, "Ding Rulong broke the betting rules by using his family's influence." Given this, the young man offers to help her find a new spokesperson. She asks, "Have you already found someone, since we urgently need one?" Then he shows his phone with a picture of a movie star and asks, "Do you consider this person qualified?" Li Robing states, A famous actress like Tao Manying would never approach me, much less agree to be the spokesperson for our product. She adds that she understands his intention to help, but says there's no need to bluff. Since she doesn't believe him, Wu Chen suggests, let's make a bet. He bets that he will get Tao Manying to appear in her office the next morning to sign the contract. Popular actress Tao Manying became a top-tier international star after the success of her major production, The Sword and Autumn Water. Since then, she has been among the highest-paid actresses in China. Li Robing doubts he can get Tao Manying to sign a contract the next day, as she is filming abroad. Since she doesn't believe him, Wu Chen proposes a bet, and she asks what it would take for him to leave her alone. He bets that he can bring the actress to her office the next day, and if he loses, he will give her $20 million. On the other hand, if he wins, she must pay the same $20 million as a sponsorship fee. Furthermore, he adds that she cannot be jealous if he wins, and she questions why, since they are only pretending to be a couple. Li Robing states that he can be with whoever he wants, as she has neither the right nor the interest to interfere. Wu Chen then asks for the $20 million to be deposited into his account to enable the operation. He then turns around and makes a call to ask for a favor. After that, Li Robing agrees to the deal. In another office, one of the guys informs Boss Wu that the area is clear and the brothers are ready. Wang Zhangyuan introduces the brothers, known for being good at games, and asks what Wu Chen intends to do with them. Wu Chen instructs them to turn on their computers and start the Aoshu Xianglong version of the game, Legendary City Lord. He also instructs them to register in the third area, which opened the previous day at 5 o'clock, and use King of Hegemony as a prefix in their names. After logging in, they must wait for him in the new player area's square while he recharges money to build the clan. 4 hours later, a group of players attacks a giant monster, shouting that it's only one hit away from being defeated. One of the players jumps to deliver the final blow, amazed that it's their first time playing with such a powerful account. The monster falls, and the system announces that the Kings of Hegemony Union has completed the first dungeon, receiving a ring as a reward. The red-haired player asks them to hand over one of the items. Wang Zhangyuan explains that the King of Hegemony clan suppressed the former #1 gang, Dragon Slayers, spending over $8 million on buying levels and equipment. There are no casual players left on the server, only the King of Hegemony and Dragon Slayers clans. Wu Chen states that the time has come for the second stage of the plan. A message from leader Tatsu is sent to all members of the King of Hegemony clan, announcing that the battle for the city has begun and that everyone must prepare to face the Dragon Slayers. The fight quickly dominates the city's main square. He orders everyone to gather there and prepare for the confrontation against the Dragon Slayers. One of the players approaches, incredulous at the amount of money invested, supposing he is just a big fan. The leader of the Sky-dominating Dragons clan comments that since both sides have similar strengths, it's unclear who will emerge victorious. Wu Chen replies that the outcome will be decided very soon. The rival leader then asks how he intends to win, given his confidence. To everyone's surprise, Wu Chen states that he will be the winner. He then turns to his own clan members and orders everyone to pay attention. He tells them to remove their equipment. Soon after, he shouts, "Everyone, log out of the game!" and the avatars begin to disappear one by one. The rival leader questions him, not understanding what he's doing. Desperate, he pleads, "Don't go, Wu Chen. The dispute isn't over yet." Wu Chen approaches and comments on how difficult it is to face an opponent like him. The rival reminds him that he invested $10 million and states that if Wu Chen leaves now, after spending almost everything, he won't be able to become the boss. Wu Chen explains that his wife's company is going through difficulties, and he needs to help her. The opponent laughs and offers to help, saying he knows several actresses and can arrange as many as he wants for him. Full of arrogance, he even brags that he could get even Tao Manying with just one phone call. Wu Chen smiles discreetly, realizing that the rival finally took the bait. Wu Chen announces that he has a business trip to East China and won't be able to play anymore, which surprises his rival when he discovers that Wu Chen is also from that region. The opponent tries to stop him, but Wu Chen's avatar disappears from the game. Outside the game, he sends a message saying that his wife is in a hurry and that it would be better if the other person had a plan, as he already knew his personality well. Then, he thanks his companions for their effort and sends another message, setting up a meeting at Qingyuan Building. Outside a large building, a man recognizes him as Chief Lei. Inside is Lei Cheng, the second son of the Lei family from Hongfa Industry. Upon entering, the visitor introduces himself as Wu Chen. Lei Cheng asks if he knows who is in front of him, and Wu Chen replies, "Your reputation is widely known." Then, he asks which family Wu Chen belongs to. The young man returns the question, asking why he is so cautious cautious and if he fears his own brother might kill him. The Hongfa Lei family is among the top 10 in the country, and the leading brother, Lei Yu, considers anyone who maintains contact with Lei Cheng a traitor. Even so, he insists on knowing which family Wu Chen belongs to. Calmly, Wu Chen asks him to relax, stating that he doesn't belong to any family and that this meeting was merely fate. Since he doesn't get a direct answer, Lei Cheng decides to gradually investigate if the young man was sent by his brother, although he sees him only as a messenger. He then asks about his wife's problems, questioning why he can't get a spokesperson even after spending so much money in the game. Wu Chen explains that someone is bothering him, as he never imagined they would dare to run over his spokesperson with a car. Lei Cheng asks if he spent all his money in the game and caused trouble just to vent. Then he promises to help find a spokesperson and asks for the company's name, to which Wu Chen replies that they produce cosmetics and are called Symphony Fashion. Upon learning that his wife is Li Robing, Lei Cheng is surprised, laughs, and comments that he should have said he was part of the Li family, but Wu Chen denies being considered a member of the family. Soon after, he calls Li Robing, who questions if he used her 10 million in games. Inside a bathtub, she says that she can't explain at that moment and proposes raising the stakes, stating that the loser will have to kneel and apologize. Lei Cheng asks what the two were talking about, shocked at the possibility of Li Robing kneeling before that boy. Wu Chen explains that it was just a few things, that she was being temperamental, and that they ended up making a rather high bet. Lei Cheng invites him for tea and asks if he would mind explaining more about the bet. He says that someone has been bothering her company, and even so, she doesn't allow him to help, as she tries to protect him from Ding Ruilong. Lei Cheng confirms that everyone knows that name, and Wu Chen adds that she fears Ding Ruilong will attack him because of her. At that moment, he stands up, stating, "Ding Ruilong is targeting Rubing, and I cannot simply hide like a coward." Agreeing, Lei Cheng says that he is right and encourages him to move forward. Li Rubing reveals that they made a bet and that she granted him full powers over the launch of the company's new product. Wu Chen explains that if the press conference goes smoothly, he wins, but if something goes wrong, she will be the winner. If he loses, he will have to obey her in everything and live only as a pretty face. Given this, Lei Cheng offers to help, stating that the problem boils down to getting a spokesperson. He assures him that he will take care of it immediately. Elsewhere, a woman wrapped in a towel hears her phone ringing. She answers the call, addressing the person on the other end as father. Lei Cheng instructs her to take a vacation and return to East China for urgent work, assuring her that he will pay the penalty for breach of contract. Afterward, he shows his phone to Wu Chen, announcing that the matter is resolved. Everything went as planned, although Tao Manying's contract fee is not small at all. He starts typing a message, as he doesn't intend to treat his friend unfairly, who didn't hesitate to offend the Ding family because of him. Lei Cheng comments that they were destined to meet and says that Wu Chen can call him brother, but the young man suggests that their destiny is greater than he imagines. Wu Chen then asks him to read the text message he just sent. The message instructs him to find the owner of that number to discover the truth about the car accident that happened 10 years ago. Wu Chen warns that they need to act fast, as Xiong Shengjun could leave the country at any moment. Lei Cheng replies that people have already been warned, but he emphasizes that they need to hurry to prevent him from escaping. That night, 10 years ago, a truck intentionally collided with their car at an intersection. Even reacting quickly, the vehicle was thrown far away and soon exploded in flames. He was lucky and survived, but his wife died before his eyes. During the 3 months he was in the ICU, his agent brought him some clues. The driver involved was Xiong Shengjun, who worked for his brother, Lei Yu, but he disappeared, and the evidence was lost. For 10 years, he pretended to be just a rich and cynical young man, waiting for the day he would find Xiong Shengjun to discover the truth. His head of security confirms that the identity and address have finally been located, leaving Lei Cheng satisfied. He says goodbye, stating that he owes this to Wu Chen, and that he can ask for anything he needs. In just 2 days of this new life, Wu Chen has already gained 2 more brothers, Lu Guanyin and now Lei Cheng. Still, before anything else, he needs to secure his 20 million and the apology on her knees. He tries to call her, but the number is put on hold, and the call is disconnected. After that, he sends a text message, but decides to drop the matter and go home. The traffic light turns red, and the cars stop on the street. At that moment, he notices a fleet of luxury vehicles and recognizes the driver of one of them. In the car next to him is Su Qing Ying, considered the most beautiful woman in the East China Sea. She was one of the women who impressed him the most in his past life, known for being the most obedient and docile. Since the encounter was by chance, he decides it's a good opportunity to flirt a little. He greets her with a wave, but she simply rolls up her car window. Undeterred, he sends a message saying that she is even more beautiful in person than on television. He hopes the text containing a secret code, will encourage her to take the initiative to negotiate. However, he quickly receives a reply from his brother-in-law, Lee Ruotai, asking him to meet him. Lee Ruotai takes him to a large house and informs him that the property now belongs to him. He explains that it's an early wedding gift, as his sister is pregnant, and Wu Chen was a great help the day before. The next morning, on July 10th, a woman arrives at the reception and informs that she has an appointment with President Lee. When the receptionist asks for her name, she introduces herself simply as Tao. Finding no record, the employee asks her to wait a moment while she verifies. Meanwhile, in the meeting room, Lee Robing questions the team for not being able to find anyone for the conference after 13 days. Annoyed, she scolds the employees for receiving high salaries and not delivering results, unaware of Wu Chen's connection. At that moment, she impatiently answers the phone, asking what it's about. Upon hearing that Tao Manying is at the reception, she immediately orders them to bring her to his office while wondering if Wu Chen was the one who invited her. She greets Miss Tao, apologizes for the delay, and the actress compliments her and Mr. Wu on being a beautiful couple. Now in the room, Lee Robing invites her to sit down and asks how she met her husband. Tao explains that she doesn't know him personally, but her godfather Lei Cheng is Wu Chen's brother and sent her there. Upon hearing this, Lee Robing is shocked to discover that Lei Cheng from the Hongfa Lei family is Tao Manying's godfather and Wu Chen's brother. Without wasting time, she apologizes and asks her assistant to bring the contract to be signed immediately. The two shake hands, satisfied to work together and confident in good cooperation. With the contract signed, Lee Robing reminds Wu Chen that it's time for him to apologize for losing the bet. Curious, she asks how he met Lei Cheng. He replies, a magician never reveals his tricks, commenting that she asks too many questions. Wu Chen prevents her from changing the subject and insists that she apologize. She stands up, takes off her shoes, and walks towards him. Solemnly, she introduces herself again as Lee Robing. Then she kneels on the floor and apologizes. He extends his hand and asks her to stand up. At that moment, Lee Ruotai rushes in, warning that someone is investigating his brother-in-law, and she asks who it could be. He replies that the investigation comes from the Golden Services Group, from the Su family. Lee Robing asks why the Su family would be investigating Wu Chen, but he replies that it's none of her business, and she'd better not get involved. She accuses him of acting mysterious, just to stir feelings in her. He retorts, saying that she isn't the most beautiful or the richest woman he knows, and questions where such confidence comes from. Hearing this, she concludes that he must be surrounded by many incredibly beautiful women. He admits that he had several in the past, but not anymore, although there are women more beautiful than her, which prompts her to ask for an example. However, he refuses to fall into the trap of letting them pry into his personal life. She teases him, stating that if he can't answer, it's fine, and he doesn't need to try so hard. At that moment, his phone rings, and he comments that the call has arrived. Su Qingying introduces herself and suggests they meet, but he questions if it's really necessary. She insists, saying that certain matters are better handled in person, and schedules a meeting at Tongsha's private club for the next morning. Lee Robing asks if Su Qingying is his woman. He replies, not yet, but maybe in a few days, who knows. Although she doesn't know her personally, Lee Robing has heard about Su Qingying's affairs, as it's no secret to the public. Her father raised her under strict family rules and severe discipline, keeping bodyguards 24 hours a day to prevent her from falling in love early. When the Su patriarch fell ill, he became anxious for her to marry, and imposed extreme conditions for blind dates, including the requirement that the suitor marry into the Su family. Lee Robing reflects that the Su family never compromises on their demands, and that Wu Chen doesn't seem like the type to accept an arranged marriage. She asserts that it's impossible for him to win her over, and challenges him to another bet. He asks if she really wants to bet again, unafraid of losing once more, but she insists that she does. Wu Chen accepts and says, in 3 days, I will make Su Qingying my woman. However, Lee Robing gives him 30 days and demands that he kneel if he loses. He agrees and asks what will happen if she is defeated. She asks what he desires, and he replies that he will still think about it. With the bet sealed, Lee Robing agrees that if she loses, she will admit defeat. The next day, July 11th, Wu Chen arrives at Tangsha Private Club, informing them that he has a meeting scheduled with Miss Su. At the reception, an employee greets him and confirms if he is Mr. Wu. The man then escorts him, saying, Miss Su is waiting for you. He finds her on a golf course at the exact moment she takes a swing. She turns and asks, "How did you find out about that matter?" He replies, "How I found out is not important." Su Qingying asks him to name his price, and he questions if she really thinks she's being blackmailed. She retorts, stating that refusing money only makes it harder to trust him as she prepares for another swing. He provokes her, suggesting that she bury him right there to shut him up forever, but adds that as Li Robing's boyfriend, no one would dare touch him. Confused, she stares at him, and he says, "What you need is something that makes you feel safe." Then, he hugs her from behind to help her with the swing, and she asks him to let her go. He reassures her, saying, "I'm just teaching you how to play, and there's no reason to overthink it." Wu Chen whispers, "Now you have proof that I can guarantee my word. Why are you still hesitating?" She imagines that if the possessive Li Robing saw that scene, she would never believe he was just teaching and would tear him apart. Realizing this, she concludes that he is the one who should be afraid, because the less she resists, the more control she will have over the situation as they execute the swing. The bodyguards are confused, unsure if she is resisting or accepting his proximity. He asks if she isn't afraid he'll call Li Robing, and she replies, "Since you also fear me revealing your secrets, we're even." Su Qingying questions if he is intentionally giving her an advantage so she can blackmail him. He reprimands her, asking her not to get distracted and to correct her posture, as the coach taught her. She reacts to the instructions and adjusts her position. The bodyguards decide they need to inform the madam as soon as possible. One of them calls to report on the situation involving the young lady. He offers to teach her once more, asking her to keep her arms straight. He asks if her pelvis is tilted forward and makes a small adjustment. After the swing, she asks, "Did I hit it?" Wu Chen says she learned very well, but comments that, unfortunately, he won't be able to teach her anymore, which makes her question why. He estimates that her mother must have already sent someone to arrest him. On the phone, the mother hears that the man hugged her daughter and orders the guards to watch him closely and not let him escape, as she is already on her way. The bodyguard confirms the order received over the phone. She asks what they should do now that her mother has arrived, and Wu Chen invites her to run away with him. Su Qingyin hesitates at the thought of escaping with him. He then questions if she intends to live that way forever. Wu Chen encourages her not to overthink and just run, pulling her by the hand. Seeing them flee, the bodyguards begin the chase. One of the men shouts, "Stop!" while the car speeds up, ordering his partner to inform the boss. Over the phone, the bodyguard reports that the young lady escaped with that young man. Inside the car, Wu Chen asks if she's scared, but she denies it. Her phone rings and she sees it's a call from her mother. He then suggests that she take the chance to be herself for at least one day. On the other end of the line, her mother asks where she is and with whom, and Su Qingyin replies that she's with a friend. The woman reprimands her for running away with a man, saying that she disappointed her. She orders her daughter, "Return home immediately," while Wu Chen presses a button in the car. Su Qingyin thanks him and states that on that day, she chooses to be who she really is. Then, she yells into the phone, "I am a human being, not a puppet controlled by my own mother." Soon after, she throws the phone aside as the car gains speed. Wu Chen asks if she's sure she wants to go with him, reminding her that her mother will use all the family's power to find them. She confides, saying that she was always forced to live the way her mother wanted, constantly pressured to be better than the day before. He believes she made the right decision, and Su Qingyin replies that running away with him might be her only chance. Then, she asks if he is Li Robing's boyfriend. Su Qingyin unfastens her seatbelt and asks if he's afraid she'll discover the truth. She leans in and kisses him. Surprised, he asks, "What do you think you're doing?" She returns the question, wanting to know why he is kissing and biting her. Wu Chen tells her, "Be quiet." He comments that her hidden attribute is really interesting. At that moment, he recalls one of his reincarnations, when he captured her on the same day of the millennium. To satisfy his curiosity about how she became a high-quality human model, she had opened her laptop and accessed a forum in front of him. Wu Chen remembers seeing a post written by her, in which she vented about her life, and having replied that he was also tired and that they could run away together. Upon rereading that post, he realized that the perfect image she maintained was, in fact, a heavy burden that kept her chained. That post revealed not only the chains and masks she carried, but also proof of her 4 hidden attributes, something he never imagined he would need to use one day. Back in the present, he asks her to sit down and fasten her seatbelt, asking where she would like to go. She replies that it can be wherever he wants, so he decides to take her to his home. 4 hours later, the two arrive at an apartment building. They sleep together in the bed until his phone alarm starts ringing. Wu Chen answers his brother-in-law's call, who explains how Madame Su managed to track him, but he reassures him, stating that he will take care of everything. As soon as he hangs up, the phone rings again, this time with a call from Li Robing. She asks what the situation is, as her brother also contacted her, and he teases her, saying that she can ask directly if she wants to know. Then, he hands the phone to Su Qingyin, who is beside him in bed, encouraging her to say whatever she wants, without worrying. Su Qingyin answers and asks, "Who is my darling talking to?" leaving the person on the other end of the line completely shocked. Li Robing asks, "Who is this?" and the woman introduces herself as Su Qingyin. Suspicious, Li Robing asks what her relationship with Wu Chen is, and she replies, "We are just friends talking about work." Still suspicious of the answer, Li Robing states that she is interfering with her business and asks her to return the phone to Wu Chen. He takes back the call and says that he is at the old house her brother gave him. She then asks him to wait there and orders him, "Do not leave." The woman asks if Wu Chen isn't afraid Li Robing will discover everything, but he reveals their relationship isn't real and that it's a well-kept secret. Then, he accuses her of being fake, just like the other three who came before her. Wu Chen asks her to keep it a secret, since not even Li Robing's younger brother knows the truth. She pushes him, concluding that he lied precisely because he didn't fear Li Robing. He holds her by the chin and asks if she regrets it, but Su Qingying denies any regret. At the same time, Li Robing drives, reflecting on how Wu Chen is a mysterious man and the true center of the whole situation. 40 minutes later, Wu Chen opens the door and invites Li Robing in. She walks past him and heads inside the apartment. Then she suddenly stops and asks, "Where is the other woman?" With a simple gesture, he points to one of the rooms in the house. From the kitchen, Su Qingying turns from the stove and asks, "Has Miss Li arrived?" She greets her casually, saying, "It's been a long time since we last saw each other." Li Robing finds Su Qingying cooking for Wu Chen. The other woman turns her attention back to the stove and comments, "The food will be ready in moments." Wu Chen holds Li Robing's hand and states that nothing is happening. He says, "I'm just introducing my wife." Surprised, she asks, "When did this happen?" He replies, "Today." Li Robing questions, "Did you two know each other before?" But he denies it. She tries to formulate another question but is interrupted. From the kitchen, Su Qingying announces, "The meal is almost ready." Then she asks, "Wu Chen, please watch the pot while I go to the bathroom." Before leaving, she also invites Miss Li to sit down, saying, "I will serve the food soon." Li Robing pulls him by the arm and says, "Come here." At that moment, Su Qingying appears at the door asking, "Was the bedding hung out on the balcony?" Several images of Su Qingying seem to emerge, all performing household chores for him. Li Robing remains silent for a few moments. Already seated at the table, Su Qingying invites them. "Let's eat." She offers a piece of food to Wu Chen and asks, "Try this." He tastes it and says, "It's delicious." He then invites Miss Li to eat too. He says, "Miss Li, please eat." Then, Li Robing asks Su Qingying directly, "How long have you been with Wu Chen?" With a calm smile, Su Qingying replies, "It was love at first sight. I knew he was my destiny from the moment I saw him." Then, she asks Li Robing, "Is it true that your relationship with Wu Chen isn't real?" Su Qingying promises, "I won't tell anyone, so you two can maintain your intimacy in public without any problems." At the table, she offers more shrimp to Wu Chen, who, in turn, asks Li Robing, "Why are you staring at me like that?" Su Qingying hugs him and declares, "Our relationship is real. He belongs to me." Li Robing picks up a shrimp from the plate. Soon after, she stands up and offers the shrimp for Wu Chen to eat. He accepts, eats the shrimp offered by Li Robing, and comments, "It was delicious." He says, "I'm satisfied, I ate too quickly." Then, Su Qingying gets up to clear the table and asks him, "Please rest and keep our guest company." She takes the dishes to the kitchen. Li Robing leans over the table and asks, "What do you think you are doing?" Then she grabs him by the wrist and demands, "Come with me!" Without giving him a choice, Li Robing pulls him forcefully and drags him out of the room. She throws him onto the sofa and demands, "Tell me the truth." Calmly, Wu Chen only replies, "If you lost, you lost. There's no reason for so many questions." Finally, he reminds her, "Since you lost the bet, you now have to pay." Surprised, Li Robing can only stare at him, speechless. He says he's tired and asks her to give him a massage. She suggests doing it in the bedroom since it's not comfortable there. A little over 10 minutes later, Su Qingying enters the room and asks where they are. Getting no response, she hears a sound coming from another part of the house and wonders what it is. She approaches the bedroom door while calling his name. Peeking inside, she sees Li Robing massaging Wu Chen on the bed. Li Robing turns around and tells her to rest, stating that they will be done soon. Su Qingying realizes that the other woman didn't care about being seen. With that, she concludes that the two are allies and that Wu Chen is more powerful than she had imagined. Without hesitation, she jumps onto the bed next to them. Approaching Li Robing, she invites her to massage him together. The two begin to massage Wu Chen's back at the same time. Li Robing holds her hand and asks Wu Chen what he did for Su Qingying to adore him like that. Su Qingying returns the question, wanting to know what she's thinking, and encourages her to continue. Wu Chen asks Su Qingying to stop stop the massage and not forget to take her medicine. She agrees and says she will go down to get it. As soon as she's alone with him, Lee Robing turns and demands an explanation. Wu-chen reveals that the Su family was investigating his life, but now the problem is that Su Qingying ran away from home with him. She asks what he intends to do, warning that the Su family won't leave him alone, even if the engagement is broken. He questions why they should break up when they can simply deal with the Su family. Lee Robing reminds him that at the moment he is her boyfriend. Wu-chen replies that that's precisely why they can face the current situation. She then asks why Su Qingying ran away, and he explains that she just wants to live her own life. At that moment, Wu-chen receives a call from Su Qingying, who informs him that her family has arrived and he tells her not to worry. He informs Lee Robing that the Su family is downstairs, and she asks if all of this was planned by him. Finally, she admits that she doesn't like this kind of feeling. He claims it was all just a coincidence, but she accuses him of manipulating people's feelings. Lee Robing clarifies that she doesn't blame him for it. She just doesn't like that feeling. He states that her words sound like those of a spoiled child and suggests that they present a united front. Then, Wu-chen holds her hand. Outside, a group of men confronts them, and one of them points, identifying Wu-chen as the target. The man makes it clear that they are not there because of Lee Robing, but because of him, whom they accuse of having kidnapped their young lady. Lee Robing then questions, why would her man dare to kidnap other women? At that moment, Su Qingying emerges between them and asks, who said I was kidnapped? She warns them not to use her mother's name to cause trouble, stating that the matter is between the two of them. From a nearby car, Su Qingying's mother steps out and tells her daughter to stop being ridiculous. Lee Robing greets Mrs. Su, saying that she looks radiant and beautiful as always. Su Qingying's mother returns the greeting, commenting that it had been a long time since she last saw her. Su Qingying's mother addresses Wu-chen, commenting that he is as talented as the rumors say, and adding that Miss Lee truly has good taste. Lee Robing responds politely, stating that Mrs. Su is very kind. The lady then suggests they talk elsewhere, and Robing agrees, saying she also has some matters to discuss. Later, at the Su family's tea house, the mother questions Robing about why she was with her daughter. Soon after, she accuses her of taking Qingying without prior notice and violating the law. In response, Robing explains that the agreement was for her to meet Miss Qingying, but she ended up asking her boyfriend to go in her place. Even so, the mother asks why she heard that Mr. Wu had taken her daughter by force. She argues that at 27, Qingying could not be forced to go anywhere, and that Mrs. Su should be more curious about the true reason for the meeting. Robing then states that Qingying lives like a puppet, unable to decide even what to eat. For this reason, she says that the young woman envied her and wished to become a woman like her. Upon hearing this, Mrs. Su asks what exactly Robing meant by those words. Qingying then explains that she wanted to meet her to ask for help. She then shows the medicine she has been taking and reveals that she bought it herself. Mrs. Su wonders what the problem would be with Qingying buying the medicine. Robing clarifies that the issue is not the medication itself, but the fact that at 27, Qingying was happy to buy it alone for the first time. Wu-chen praises her for her eloquence and logical reasoning. Soon after, Robing stands up and states that Qingying is extremely upset and that buying the medicine was a form of retaliation. She further questions what might happen next time if there's no one around to help her. Given this, Mrs. Su asks if she should thank her for the intervention. Robing replies that there is no need, as she considers Qingying a friend. At this moment, Wu-chen decides it's time to intervene in the conversation. He stands up and declares that both he and Robing have worked all day and are also tired of the situation. Robing turns to him and asks what he is doing, reminding him that Qingying is her friend. Even so, he continues, saying that she helped Miss Su out of concern but received no recognition in return. At this, Robing places a hand on his shoulder and asks him to calm down. She then moves closer and asks him not to argue, reiterating again that Qingying is her friend. Finally, Mrs. Su says that she completely understands Miss Lee's good intentions. She then turns to her daughter and states that from that moment on, she will allow her to make her own decisions, adding that Qingying is lucky to have a friend like her. Lee Robing states that Qingying is an excellent person and everyone likes her. Su Qingying's mother comments that it is getting late and says goodbye, asking her daughter not to put so much pressure on herself. She then allows Qingying to stay with Miss Lee and only go to the company the next morning. The three sigh in relief, while Wu-chen declares that the first phase of the plan has been completed. Lee Robing looks out the window and informs Qingying that her mother has already left without leaving anyone behind. Qingying then hugs Wu Chen and asks if he was really angry, but he replies that it was all an act. Soon after, he picks up his phone, saying it's time to take care of business, while wondering who he should call first. Rubing tries to stop him from making the call, asking him to stop joking. She states that everything is already resolved, but he holds her and asks if, at any point, he said he would cause trouble. Wu Chen turns to Qingying and asks if she wishes to continue meeting secretly. She approaches him and calls him by name, leaving Rubing in silence. He then asks Qingying to listen to him, as he will make a call right away. Wu Chen reveals the plan for her to assume power in the Su family and become the CEO of Jin Fu. He then calls out to Qingying again, awaiting her response. She raises her face and declares that she is willing to accept the proposal. Satisfied with the answer, he takes his phone to start making calls. Finally, he puts the device to his ear and announces that he will begin at that exact moment. Su Jingying watches Li Robing and Wu Chen sitting side by side, mentally commenting on the closeness between the two. She then clenches her fist, determined to join them. Wu Chen notices their interest, and then offers to put the call on speakerphone. During the call, he asks a man on the other end questions about nightmares and money. The man reacts in confusion, not understanding who he is speaking with. After ending the call, Qingying asks if he can really take control of the Su family using just those few phrases. He then turns and explains that the plan is to provoke internal disintegration, then invite them to leave with him. Li Robing suggests he reconsider the idea, but Wu Chen provokes her with another bet, and she ends up agreeing to accompany him. About an hour later, he asks the two to wait and have some tea while he goes ahead. Upon entering the room, a man greets him, commenting on his punctuality. The man then stands up and goes to check the door. Yao Honglin then turns to Wu Chen and asks if he was the one who called earlier. He confirms, and the director begins to question him about Bai Kaifeng's whereabouts and what he truly desires. Soon after, Yao Honglin threatens him, but also offers a large sum of money in exchange for the information. Calmly, Wu Chen states that they can discuss the amounts later, adding that the man is quite bold and audacious. The director warns him not to make unfounded accusations. Even so, Wu Chen questions him about the money buried on the hill and comments on how technology makes solving old cases easier. Faced with this, the director admits it is extortion and offers 155 million in exchange for his silence. He also mentions the boss's problematic business dealings and the falsification of accounts with the help of a mistress. Yao Honglin then increases the offer to 3 billion, divided into 3 installments, stating that he will not give anything more than that. At that moment, Su Qingying and Li Robing abruptly enter the room, calling for Mr. Yao. He turns, surprised to see Miss Su and Chief Li before him. Confused, the man wonders how they arrived so quickly and if they had heard the conversation. Qingying asks directly if Mr. Yao really killed people and set fires. He just stutters, offering an incomplete answer. Wu Chen serves some tea and asks Qingying not to talk about the past for now. He then turns to Yao Honglin and demands that, from that moment on, he support Miss Su in board meetings. The director asks if it's really that simple, and Wu Chen confirms without hesitation. Relieved, Yao Honglin comments to Miss Su that there was no need to bother other people for such a small matter. He then drinks the tea, understanding that Su Qingying is the only successor to the Su family. Yao Honglin assures Wu Chen that from that moment forward, he will treat Miss Su's affairs as his own and follow her as a leader. Wu Chen states that a gentleman's word is a commitment, and with that allows him to leave. Li Robing questions the usefulness of having only one vote, reminding him that there are over a dozen directors, and not all of them will yield to threats. He then turns and asks if they are trying to make him say something. Robing warns him, saying that what he did was blackmail, but he replies, "You don't need to deal with everyone, just a few will be enough." Qingying asks how many people still need to be pressured, and he replies, 5 are left. She then asks him not to overwork himself. After that, Wu Chen meets with the CMO, CFO, legal supervisor, and independent director of the Jin Fu group. At the end of the night, he bids farewell to the two and heads towards the car. Robing asks how he intends to control the board without having the majority, but he states that some things are difficult to explain. Qingying approaches and says, "I will listen to everything you say because I know you are right." He then asks Robing if he and Qingying can stay at her house that night. Robing immediately denies the request. Soon after, she asks why he brought them there, but he just urges them to leave. Then Robing asks Qingying to take a bath first. Finally, she pulls Wu Chen close and kisses him. He wraps her in his arms and kisses her. At that moment, he realizes it's all an act. With this, he understands she's looking for the paparazzi, exactly as he expected. Lee Robing stares at him for a few seconds. In the distance, a paparazzo snaps photos of the two on the balcony, and Wu Chen decides to play along. Robing comments that he already knew about the photographer's presence, which is why he was so calm. Meanwhile, at Rui Long Company headquarters in South Guang City, someone reacts with anger. Ding Rui Long observes the photos of Lee Robing on the balcony displayed on the monitors. Furious, he screams Wu Chen's name and decides he needs to kill him. Then, he calls for Jiang Chuan, who soon appears before him. Ding Rui Long orders him to find Wu Chen and kill him in the worst way possible. Jiang Chuan asks for 5 days to complete the mission, but the boss demands it be done in just 3. With that, he accepts the imposed deadline. The next day, Wu Chen wakes Su Qingying. She complains that she hasn't slept enough, but he suggests she rest after work. He asks if she remembers what was taught, and Qingying confirms, aware that day will decide her fate. Soon after, Lee Robing appears at the door and announces she will take Qingying to the company. Upon arrival, Qingying is greeted by her colleagues but asks everyone to save their discussions for the conference room. Then, she bids farewell to Miss Robing. At 10 o'clock in the morning, during the executive meeting, someone screams at Qingying inside the conference room. Her mother demands the dismissal of Zhou Da and Yang Kuo and threatens to convene the board of directors. Qingying stands up and states that, as executive vice president, she has the right to call a board meeting. An executive reminds her that, holding this position, she doesn't need board approval to fire the security department. The mother bangs on the table and questions the reason for the dismissals, asking what they could have done wrong. She further argues that the company cannot bear the consequences of labor arbitration. Su Qingying then declares she has a clear reason for the dismissals. She begins to recount a major robbery that occurred 5 years ago at the company's largest store. The robbery made the world seriously question the group's security, causing stock prices to fall and reducing the company's value to 40 billion. Qingying states that Zhou Da, as security director, needs to take responsibility so the world can see the company's determination to reform its protection system. She concludes that only with his dismissal will it be possible to recover the stock price, surprising everyone present with her new stance. The mother agrees with Zhou Da's departure but confronts her about Yang Kuo, asking if he will also be held accountable. The young woman replies that Yang Kuo no longer works for the company, so there's no reason to blame him. With that, the mother confronts her, revealing that Yang Kuo is merely her personal bodyguard. With this, she realizes her daughter is just looking for a reason to rebel. Taken by rage, she orders the board of directors to be convened immediately for a meeting at 3 in the afternoon. Meanwhile, at Symphony Fashion Company, Lee Robing questions Wu Chen for not intervening in the situation, but he states that, for now, he will only observe. Then, she asks what he is drawing. With a slight smile, Wu Chen replies, "I am drawing you." Finally, he reflects that Ding Rui Long must already be preparing to act, and therefore, it's also time for him to do something. Sitting at the table, Lee Robing asks what Wu Chen is doing, and he replies, "I just want to make a sketch of you." She states, "I'm busy with work and don't have time to pose as a model." Faced with this, he suggests, "Just continue with your tasks and pretend I'm not here." At that moment, a message on his phone reveals a new drawing group, in which one of the members has a close relationship with Ding Rui Long. In the conversation, some members comment about a Professor Xingchen, while he remains focused on the drawing. Then, he takes a photo of the sketch with his phone. Soon after, he sends the image to the group, saying, "I'm just working on a piece at the moment." Wu Chen watches the screen, wondering why the person he is waiting for hasn't appeared in the conversation yet. Shortly after, he smiles, realizing that his bait has finally been taken. It is then revealed that a woman in the group, a former colleague of Ding Rui Long, had an illegitimate daughter with him. This daughter, in turn, is already 14 years old. The woman starts typing a message in the drawing group. She asks, "Professor Xingchen, please evaluate my daughter's art." After praising the girl's talent, the mother asks, "Do you happen to live in Shanghai?" Wu Chen realizes that everything was much easier than he had imagined. Through the conversation, the woman offers 2,000 wen per lesson for him to tutor her daughter, but the professor shows some hesitation. He suggests, "Let's discuss the details later." The woman agrees to await his contact within the next 24 hours. Wu Chen looks at his phone and declares, "The plan is going smoothly. Now it's time to make her fall into my net." He says, "The woman will come to Donghai and be under my control. She is the key piece to incriminate Ding Ruilong." Then, he says goodbye to Lee Robing. "I need to leave to take care of some things." As he walks away, he declares, "The woman and her daughter are just one part of what is yet to come." On the phone, Wu Chen reveals himself to be a double agent to the person on the other end who says, "I don't know what you're talking about." Then he threatens, "I'll look for Li Ruotai." The interlocutor changes their attitude and asks, "Let's talk." Wu Chen sets a meeting for 3 in the afternoon, and the person on the other end agrees. At 3 in the afternoon at the Jinfu group, someone announces, "Almost everyone is here. Please close the door." Finally, the woman begins the board of directors meeting. Su Qingying's mother informs those present that the emergency meeting was called to address an issue that at first seemed small. She then turns to her daughter, stating that everyone can express their opinion, but makes it clear that she expects logical arguments from anyone who decides to oppose her. One of the directors comments that, fortunately, he was already aware of the situation. Otherwise, it would be difficult to adapt so quickly. The woman then congratulates Su Qingying for her stance, but immediately declares that the presented proposal is unfeasible. She argues that dismissing an old and dedicated employee like Zhou Da would be a big mistake, and the other directors agree with this statement. With the board's support, she continues by saying that a forced dismissal would bring significant risks to the company. Once again, those present show agreement with her opinion. Qingying interrupts the discussion and proposes a direct vote to decide who supports her proposal. One of the members raises their hand, causing surprise among the others. Soon after, more directors begin to raise their hands. A man observes that even Yao Honglin, Pei Changhe, Sun Haoman, and Wan Wencheng voted in favor. Furthermore, Chen Lei also shows support for the proposal. Qingying's mother immediately turns to Chen Lei and demands an explanation, reminding her that she was the one who promoted her within the company. Qingying asks her mother not to influence the vote and requests that the process continue. The older woman reacts with indignation to her daughter's words. The other board members exchange glances, visibly tense. In a flashback, Wu Chen explains to Qingying that some undecided people only need to see a display of power to follow the majority. Back in the present, she realizes she needs to be even more assertive. Qingying asks, "Who else is willing to support me?" At that moment, Tang Deyang, Su Ruiwen's trusted brother, raises his hand to vote. He states that Qingying has already grown up and that the woman should see what she has become. With a scream, the mother slams the table, calling it absurd. She then points out that Qingying only has 9 votes, which is still not the majority, and challenges the others to oppose her and old Su. She explains that Qingying only needs 1 more vote to achieve a simple majority. In another flashback, Wu Chen reveals that the next step will be the final blow to make her give up, and that now is the right time. Qingying stands up and asks her mother, "Are you sure you want to continue this way?" The mother states that, as a mother, she is still capable of controlling her. Qingying confronts her, questioning if her actions are truly for the good of the family, and how long everyone will continue to be a laughingstock. She states that if her proposal is not approved, the Su family will split into 2 factions, generating internal conflicts and a drop in performance. With the company stagnated, shares will plummet, and the company could end up going bankrupt. The older woman wonders what happened to her own family. Finally, she decides to leave everything behind and exits the room. Qingying then positions herself at the table and asks, "Who else supports me and who opposes me?" With all members raising their hands, the proposal is unanimously approved. Su Qingying closes the meeting, declaring that from that moment on, the Su family and the Jinfu group had completely changed. In the car, Wu Chen receives a lunch invitation and asks if the matter involves Chief Lu. The man confirms he needs help, and even though it's still early for his other appointment, Wu Chen agrees to meet at the Yuefu residence in the western part of the city. Upon arriving, Wu Chen is greeted cordially by Chief Lu. The older man points to his own head and asks how his first love ended. He recounts that the woman threw a cup at him and kicked him out. He asks for help so that she and her mother will accept him again. Wu Chen tries to calm him down, asking him to sit, but Chief Lu insists he cannot wait, as everything involves his son. Sitting at the table, Wu Chen pours some tea and asks what exactly he did. Chief Lu explains that he went to meet her. He recounts that he brought a bouquet, a diamond ring, and a necklace to propose to her. Furthermore, he says he even gave his own son a Ferrari. Wu Chen explains that he tried to buy her with money, which to her sounds like an insult after everything she went through to see him again. In a flashback, Ma Huifang locks the door and threatens to move abroad if Lu Guanian ever tries to find them again. Back in the present, he finally understands the gravity of the situation. Lu Guanian asks Wu Chen if he has a solution, and the young man confirms he does. He then presents 2 options, one more time-consuming and another capable of resolving everything that same day. Without hesitation, he chooses the second alternative and asks what he should do. Wu Chen explains that it's not about money, but it will require Brother Lu to go through some difficulties. Lu Guanian states he is not afraid of this and only asks to be told what to do. Given this, Wu Chen details the plan, making it clear that it will be necessary to act firmly and set aside pride. From a monitoring room, the young man observes Lu Guanyin in a hallway and says that the rest is out of his hands. The older man knocks on the door, calling for Xiaofang, but a voice from inside replies, "She is dead. Please don't come back anymore." Desperate, he begs them to open the door. Ma Huifang then opens it and tells him to leave, asking how long he will continue with this. He offers a janbing, reminding her that they used to eat those when they had no money. She pushes him, saying, "I don't want anything from you." Lu Guanyan bends down to pick up the food that fell on the floor. At that moment, Ma Junti, Lu Guanyan's son, appears and tells him to leave. Ma Huifang tells her son to go inside, but Lu Guanyan asks her not to get agitated in front of him, and the discussion extends for almost half an hour. Shortly after, the security guards arrive due to neighbors' complaints, and he takes the blame for the disturbance. She denies any kinship and asks the guards to take him away. Even so, Lu Guanyan refuses to leave, insisting that he is talking to his own wife. He then pushes the security guards and shouts, "Don't interfere in our fight." The security guard reacts with a kick, stating he attacked first. Fallen on the ground, Lu Guanyan challenges the guards to kill him, saying, "My life has no meaning without my family." From the monitoring room, Wu Chen comments on Brother Lu's detailed performance. Soon after, he smiles, believing that the next step will happen shortly. Ma Junti runs out and shouts, "Stop hitting my father!" The young man positions himself, ready to retaliate. Ma Huifang shouts, asking everyone to stop fighting. She approaches Lu Guanyan, who is on the ground, and helps him up. Wu Chen congratulates those involved for the realistic performance, stating that the result was exactly as he had predicted. One of the men offers to participate in a next reenactment, saying that with the experience gained, they can make it even more convincing. Seeing the image of an injured Lu Guanyan, Wu Chen concludes that he no longer needs to get involved, and that Brother Lu will handle the rest alone. With a slight smile, he decides it's now time to dedicate himself to the real business. Inside the car, Wu Chen answers a call from someone who is late for the meeting and asks what the person intends to do. On the other end of the line, the caller says he doesn't want to argue and just asks Wu Chen to inform him when he will arrive. Shortly after, Wu Chen arrives at Shudao Cafe in Dongcheng District. Upon entering, he apologizes for making the other party wait. Surrounded by his men, the double agent Meng Junhao asks, "Was it you I spoke with on the phone?" Wu Chen confirms and asks if he really intends to let his subordinates hear about such unpleasant matters. Annoyed, Meng Junhao demands to know, "Who are you?" Faced with this, Wu Chen takes out his phone and states that since there's no interest in a civilized conversation, he will leave. Hearing the voice on the call, Meng Junhao recognizes Li Rotai and understands that the man in front of him is Wu Chen. Over the phone, Wu Chen informs Li Rotai that there's a traitor by his side and that he needs to deal with it. Li Rotai asks who the traitor is and prepares to act. At that moment, Wu Chen grabs Meng Junhao and reveals that the traitor is one of his own employees, identified as C082. He then asks if they can talk properly now, and the older man agrees to discuss whatever he wants. Meng Junhao serves Mr. Wu some tea when his phone starts ringing. It was Brother Lu, and upon learning that he also had a problem, Wu Chen asks for the address to go there immediately. Still on the phone, he realizes he will need Lu Guanyan's influence and gives him the address of Shudao Cafe. Meng Junhao asks if anyone else is on their way, but Wu Chen replies that it's just a friend and invites him to sit down. Then, Wu Chen reveals that Meng Junhao became Ding Rilong's man 4 years ago, positioning his own confidants as guards around Li Robing and Li Rotai. He continues, explaining that 6 months ago, Meng Junhao was exposed, almost eliminated by Li Rotai, and ended up selling himself to Ding Rilong. Meng Junhao asks him to stop talking and just give his orders, promising to follow them. Wu Chen assumes that Ding Rilong will soon send someone to attack him. The man defends himself, saying it's not his responsibility to deal with it, but Wu Chen instructs him to obey Ding Rilong's orders to survive. Meng Junhao suggests he be warned in advance so they can stage something. However, Wu Chen refuses, stating that this is the only way for him to stay alive. Not understanding, the older man asks why Wu Chen sought him out if he doesn't intend to do anything. Calmly, the young man replies that he is just a bit more interesting than the others. Wu Chen asks him to deliver something to Ding Rilong, but makes it clear that it's not the time yet. At that moment, Lu Guanyan arrives at the cafe and greets his brother. Immediately after, he confronts Meng Junhao, asking if the dozens of men downstairs were brought by him to cause trouble. Meng Junhao denies the accusation, and the other two confirm that it was all a big misunderstanding. Lu Guanyan turns to Wu Chen and states that Wu Chen's problems are also his, guaranteeing that he will tear apart anyone who dares to touch him. Wu Chen realizes that with Lu Guanyan's influence and Meng Junhao's fear, his reputation in Donghai will be completely transformed. At that that moment, his phone rings with a call from a woman. He answers and asks what happened, discovering that she is in front of his house. The young man bids farewell to the two men to resolve the situation, while Meng Junhao comments on the feminine voice on the other end of the line. While driving, Wu Chen asks her not to cry and discovers that her parents want to send her abroad to study. She explains that she doesn't want to go and begs for his help. Wu Chen instructs her to use the spare key to enter the house and wait for him. Shortly after she enters, Mu Qian arrives accompanied by her security guards, saying she needs to celebrate that day's success with her husband. At that moment, she realizes she doesn't have the key to his house. One of the security guards suggests breaking the lock, and she orders him to proceed. The man forces the lock and opens the door. Inside, Hu Xiaowei looks towards the entrance. At the door, Mu Qian stares at the other woman. Hu Xiaowei questions Miss Su's presence. Seeing this, Mu Qian asks how she got into the house. Hu Xiaowei explains that Wu Chen asked her to wait there as he left a spare key with her. Next, Mu Qian wants to know what time the visitor arrived, finding the whole situation a bit strange. Hu Xiaowei replies that she arrived just a few minutes ago. Soon after, the other woman asks if Wu Chen mentioned when he would return. She receives the answer that he should arrive soon. Then, Mu Qian invites her to sit down while she puts her own things away. Hu Xiaowei obeys and begins to observe every movement of the other woman. At that moment, she imagines the two of them kissing. Shortly after, Mu Qian opens the refrigerator and offers something to drink. Hu Xiaowei realizes that both of their belongings are stored together inside the refrigerator. Seeing this, Mu Qian asks what exactly her relationship with Wu Chen is. Without beating around the bush, she asks when the two of them got together. The answer comes quickly. It happened just a few days ago. Mu Qian then suggests that she should be called older sister and proposes that the two of them get along well. Meanwhile, stuck in traffic, Wu Chen complains about how late it already is. Opening the front door, he is surprised by the aroma of food and wonders if Liu Kaixia knows how to cook. Soon after, he sees the two women together, while Mu Qian warns the little sister to be careful. The two greet him as soon as he enters. Mu Qian invites him to dinner, calling him husband. Wu Chen explains to Hu Xiaowei that she is the youngest, which is why she uses that form of address. The young woman immediately gets irritated by the comment. Then she begins to question him about the other woman calling him husband and when the two of them got together. With a voice full of anxiety, Hu Xiaowei begs him, "Tell me the truth." However, Mu Qian interrupts them, asking them to wash their hands for dinner. The other agrees, although she wonders how she ended up becoming the little sister once again. During dinner, Wu Chen asks Mu Qian how the board meeting went. She replies that everything happened exactly as he had predicted, and comments that it was good to see the plan worked out. At that moment, Hu Xiaowei confronts him. "I don't care about the display of affection, but I want to know the truth." Seeing this, he provokes her, asking her, "Try and guess." In response, she threatens, "I won't come home." He retorts, "There's a guest room available." Next, Hu Xiaowei asks about Miss Su. Mu Qian states that she also doesn't intend to leave. The young woman then warns, "Don't blame me later." At bedtime, Wu Chen tells Liu Kaixia that she can stay in the other room, as everyone needs to wake up early. However, Hu Xiaowei sits on the bed and challenges him, stating, "I want to sleep here." On the other side, Mu Qian tells her husband that she doesn't mind. Given the situation, Wu Chen suggests that they all sleep together, since the bed is big enough for the three of them. The next morning, the three wake up in the same bed. Still lying down, Hu Xiaowei comments that the previous night left her exhausted, and she intends to sleep a little more. Meanwhile, on the phone, Wu Chen asks what happened and discovers that Li Ruobing's father is on his way to the company. He then hugs Mu Qian and asks, "Why the rush?" In the office, Li Ruobing hurries him, saying, "You need to leave soon, or all our effort will be lost." 40 minutes later, outside the company building, she complains about his delay. After getting out of the car, she asks him to help her zip up her dress. Hand in hand, the two head towards the building. Inside, Li Ruotai questions his brother-in-law about the delay, informing him that their father is already waiting for them. Next, Li Ruobing asks her father why he suddenly appeared without notice. Li Ruobing's father questions her about the sudden visit, and she replies that it's not the right time yet. He then accuses her of not taking care of her younger brother and not even allowing him to stay in Donghai. Faced with this, she defends herself, asking how that situation could be her fault. Li Ruotai intervenes, asking his father and sister not to argue again. Then, Li Ruobing agrees that it's truly not the right time for arguments. Soon after, she approaches Wu Chen and officially introduces him as her boyfriend. Wu Chen greets him, calling him uncle, and she comments that the address might change after the wedding. The father of the two maintains a serious expression, making his daughter wonder what's happening. Her brother realizes that this time, he won't be able to help her. Visibly annoyed, the older man accuses the two of teaming up to deceive him. Li Ruotai assures his father that he investigated everything about Wu Chen, from kindergarten to birth records. Even so, his father refuses to believe, insisting that the real Wu Chen is dead and the man in front of him is an imposter. The young man then reveals that he even conducted a DNA test using the chopsticks Wu Chen used at a dinner with his parents, confirming his identity. Still, the man concludes that it's all just another one of Rubing's tricks, planned in advance. Sitting at the table, he invites Xiao Wu to sit down, stating that he will expose all the lies. Li Robing's father begins to question him about his background and plans, and Wu Chen confirms that he works at her company. He explains that he graduated in computer science and intends to take Rubing's company public. Calling him ambitious, the man realizes that the answer aligns with his investigation, and then asks about his hobbies. Wu Chen lists several hobbies, such as calligraphy, music, kickboxing, and cars. He then adds that he also likes weapons. Surprised, her father asks if he really understands the subject. Li Robing becomes apprehensive as, considering his family background, it would be impossible for him to have contact with weapons. Wu Chen explains that, like many boys, he became interested in the topic, learned the basics online, and even made a wooden model once. She wonders if he's trying to get into trouble on purpose. Soon after, the father turns to Li Rotai and asks if he carries a weapon with him. After his son confirms, he orders him to hand it over to Xiao Wu. With no alternative, Li Rotai passes the pistol to his brother-in-law. Wu Chen begins to describe the weapon precisely, detailing the model and how it was manufactured. He then empties the magazine, leaving the bullets scattered on the table. Soon after, he confirms that his assumption was correct, as there were exactly 6 projectiles. Faced with this, Li Robing's father concludes that the young man's skill proves that his relationship with his daughter is genuine. However, a new problem arises, as a man with a special forces background is dating his daughter, leading him to question what his true objectives are. Still, the elder doesn't fail to praise Xiao Wu's talent. Wu Chen then suggests that he and his uncle talk in private. Li Robing questions him, but her father orders her to leave the room with her brother. She refuses to leave, and the man states that the request came from Xiao Wu. At that moment, Wu Chen touches her and explains that certain matters would be difficult to discuss in her presence. After a few moments, she finally agrees to listen. As they leave, the father asks Li Rutai if there's surveillance in the room, and the young man confirms that there is. The man comments that Rubing really listens to him, and Wu Chen asks for just a moment. Then he takes a wine bottle with a hidden device and throws it to the floor. In the surveillance room, the camera feed disappears, making Li Rubing ask what happened. Wu Chen turns and directly stares at another hidden camera. With the weapon pointed at his own head, he tells his uncle, "Now we can talk." Faced with this, the older man demands to know who he really is and why he approached his daughter. In the surveillance room, Li Robing asks her brother why the images of the two suddenly disappeared. Li Rotai replies that he also has no idea what happened. Meanwhile, in the other room, Wu Chen comments that everyone there belongs to the same family, since both Rubing and Tai have also pointed guns at him. Next, he bets with his uncle that the gun is not loaded. The older man calls him brave. Soon after, he throws the bullets onto the table and asks what the true purpose of his relationship with his daughter is. Wu Chen responds naturally, "I like her and want to have children. Is there anything wrong with that?" Realizing the young man shows no fear, the father decides to get straight to the point. Then, the young man accuses him of not truly caring about Robing, but only about the family's interests, and questions him about the arranged marriage with Ding Ruilong. Irritated, the older man asks, "Are you trying to lecture me?" In the next room, Li Robing feels she needs to know what they are talking about and takes her brother to the adjacent room. She leans her head against the wall, assuming it's the back of the sofa where the two are sitting. Her brother explains that during the renovation, he used the best soundproofing material available. Back to the conversation, Wu Chen states that Ding Ruilong is stubborn and difficult to control, and then asks his uncle if he remembers Dong Yuan Tao. The father questions the reason for mentioning Dong Yuan Tao, a boy who drowned 10 years ago. Wu Chen corrects him, saying that the boy did not drown but was murdered. The older man dismisses the hypothesis as impossible, as the Dong family would not be able to face something coming from the Ding family. In light of this, Wu Chen clarifies that he is not talking about the Ding family, but about Ding Ruilong, showing a photo of a woman named He Shikin. He explains that Dong Yuan Tao was killed by Ding Ruilong in front of her, and that the woman remains by his side out of fear. The young man states that he has maintained contact with He Shikin, and that she is willing to testify against Ding Ruilong. Visibly agitated. The father asks what he is trying to do, but Wu Chen replies that his uncle already knows the answer. The man ponders that revealing this could start a family war, from which the Li family would not be excluded. Wu Chen reminds him that the alliance with the Ding family has not yet been sealed, and the Sun family remains their biggest ally. Given this, the father concludes that the young man was sent by another family with the intention of destroying the alliance between the Li and Ding families. In the next room, Li Robing holds a drill, determined to make a hole in the wall to hear the conversation. Her brother warns her that the noise and vibration would attract attention, but she insists that he think of a solution. Li Ruotai turns, stating that he really cannot help her. Meanwhile, Wu Chen suggests a marriage between Dong Yuantao's cousin and Tai, but the father considers the idea absurd. In response, the young man holds his phone and states that if his uncle agrees, he can get the results in a week. The older man realizes he is not joking, but ponders that it is not yet the right time for a marriage with the Dong family. Thus, he asks Wu Chen to wait, making it clear that now is not the time. Next, he demands to know what his true objective is. Wu Chen declares bluntly, "I want Ding Ruilong dead. He tried to steal my woman, and from that point on, the situation became a matter of life or death." Soon after, he emphasizes that Ding Ruilong needs to die. The father then asks if he also has compromising information about the Wei family. Wu Chen confirms and is willing to tell everything, as long as his uncle doesn't bother him in Donghai for 6 months. 2 hours later, Li Ruobing prepares to dig into the wall with a small shovel. At that moment, her brother runs to inform her that their father and brother-in-law have already left the room. The two run out of the room. She approaches Wu Chen and asks if the conversation is finally over. Wu Chen questions his uncle about his plans, and the older man replies, "I am leaving." Li Ruobing demands to know what he told her father to make him leave so easily. Insistently, she asks him to tell her the truth. Li Ruotai says goodbye and leaves, leaving his sister and brother-in-law alone. Then, Li Ruobing says that if he is sincere, she might reconsider certain things. Wu Chen replies, "I haven't been feeling well because Qingying has been very clingy, which has exhausted me." She tries to push him, calling him shameless. However, he holds her wrist, stopping her. Wu Chen pulls her closer and asks, "Aren't you also shameless for acting that way?" He asks if she's jealous, and the response comes quickly. She says, "I've already told your father everything about Ding Ruilong and the Wei family." Following this, Wu Chen recounts the entire story involving Dong Yuantao and He Shiqin. Upon hearing this, Li Ruobing concludes that when the Dong family scandal comes to light, even more people will wish for Ding Ruilong's death. She congratulates him on his good work, and in a provocative tone asks, "Shouldn't I give you a reward?" Wu Chen asks, "Are you really sure about doing that here, as many eyes are watching from the building next door?" She calls him remarkable for still being able to fall for her, but he retorts, "Hasn't the same happened to you?" Li Ruobing admits that he meets all her requirements for a partner, and that's precisely why she fell in love. Still, she makes it clear that she won't be a submissive kitten and states, "You are the one who should submit to me." Wu Chen praises her impressive speech and wishes Miss Li success. Soon after, he remembers the reward and asks for a massage, but she replies, "Perhaps I will if you beg." He then says, "I won't beg, I'll simply ask someone else." Immediately, Li Ruobing asks, "Are you talking about Su Qingying?" But Wu Chen denies it, affirming, "I don't want to bother her." She stares at him and asks, "Who exactly are you talking about?" Wu Chen explains that even though the girl isn't his yet, he says, "It will be easy to convince her to give me a massage once we get to know each other better." He describes her as younger, prettier, and from an even wealthier family, while Li Ruobing asks, "Is she from Donghai?" In response, Wu Chen asks her to stop guessing and warns, "I'm putting the call on speaker." After the phone rings, a female voice answers and he introduces himself. "I'm a recent graduate from Donghai University, and I have some songs to show." The girl on the other end recognizes him as an upperclassman and asks, "Do you really have songs?" Which he confirms. She complains, "I've already received many mediocre songs," but Wu Chen suggests, "You should try mine first." The young woman agrees to meet him at the downtown cafe, and he confirms, "I'll be there." Meanwhile, Li Ruobing reflects that she doesn't recall anyone with the surname Song among Donghai's top 10 millionaires. Suddenly, she has a suspicion and asks Wu Chen, "Does the girl belong to the Wu family?" He confirms that she is Wu Yurong's daughter, and Li Ruobing asks, "Don't you fear her mother?" She then explains that Wu Yurong is known as the Black Widow of Donghai's business community. Wu Chen replies that he also knows she was once called Donghai's top beauty, which leads Li Ruobing to ask him to reconsider. She says, "Please reconsider." Then she offers to be his and pleads, "Please don't meet her daughter, Song Xuan." He reassures her, saying, "It was all a misunderstanding. The meeting and massage are just excuses." Li Ruobing holds on to him, asking, "What do you really intend to do?" But he just asks her to relax. At the cafe, he finds a young woman who introduces herself, "I'm Song Xuan," and extends her hand to greet him. Introducing himself as Wu Chen, he shakes her hand and she invites him. Please sit down and order something to drink. He declines the drink, and then she asks, is the material on a flash drive or in manuscript? Wu Chen asks only for a pen and paper, which makes Song Xuan question, why? He calmly replies, I will write the song right here. Pointing to his own head, he states, everything is already ready. And she accuses him, you're joking. 10 minutes later, she holds the finished lyrics titled Soul Remedy and notices that he even included the instruments for mixing. After humming the melody, she concludes that the song is better than the others she received. Wu Chen then asks Miss Song, do you intend to buy the song? With a smile, Song Xuan confirms, yes, I do. However, she asks, are you just here to mock me? Do I look like a fool in your eyes? He sets the price at 100,000, non-negotiable, and mentions, I have other songs for the same price. Song Xuan refuses the proposal and pushes the notebook back to him. Then, Wu Chen pulls the notebook back and says, the matter ends here. He explains that, although he barely knows her, he trusts that she isn't the kind of person who would steal a song. Then, he stands up and says, I'm leaving. Song Xuan watches him leave and calls him strange. A short time later, he arrives at a studio and is greeted by an employee right at the entrance. Wu Chen says, I want to record a song, and I'll rent the recording room for 3 hours. Finally, he states, Miss Song will arrive soon. The studio employee asks if he needs a tuner or a mixing engineer, but Wu Chen replies that he can handle everything himself. With the recording finished, he holds the CD in his hands and comments that it's time to go home and publish it. In the parking lot, he answers a call from Su Qingying, who questions why he hadn't replied for 3 hours, and he explains that he was busy. She says that Chang Qian started an internship at Jinfu and gave up studying abroad, receiving praise from him for her good work. Before hanging up, Su Qingying warns that they won't meet that day to avoid raising suspicion, while he replies that he also has other matters to resolve. Already on the road, Wu Chen notices a car following him closely. Looking in the rearview mirror, he notices that the license plate is not from Donghai and concludes that these are Ding Rulong's men. He decides that he needs to publish the song first and lets his followers have fun for now. At home, he sits in front of his laptop and chooses the stage name Chen Wu, believing that Miss Song will understand the reference. The song is then uploaded to the platform, and he begins to wait for the miracle to happen. The next morning, he gets up, eager to check the performance of Soul Remedy. However, observing his surroundings, he notices something strange. The potted plant is turned in another direction, and the sofa cushion appears slightly displaced. With this, he concludes that they installed a camera or some kind of bug and decides to play their game. Wu Chen calls Li Robing and asks if she doesn't have an appointment with him, but she replies that she needs to talk about Song Xuan. He agrees and warns that he will be at the company before 9. While driving, he knows that the chance of something happening that day is high, although everything is still under control. Looking to the side, he realizes that his pursuers have already approached. Suddenly, his car is surrounded by trucks, and he recognizes the classic trap disguised as an accident. Quickly, he memorizes the vehicle's license plates and rewinds time. Wu Chen wakes up in his bed again, stating, now it's his turn to play. Then, he calls Li Rotai, informing him that Ding Rulong's men are in Donghai and describing the vehicles they will use. He asks for them to be captured alive, as it will be easier to deal with them on the road. Considering it difficult to act while moving, he decides to head to the Xinmao shopping mall parking lot. In another call, he informs Li Robing of his location and warns that the cars followed him there. Now, he merely awaits the execution of Ding Rulong's reinforcement plan. One of the drivers notices that the target has entered the underground parking and orders an immediate retreat. However, during the maneuver, the vehicles are hit by other cars. Annoyed, one of the drivers asks the other if he even knows how to drive. At that moment, a group of men approaches and their leader replies, no, and ironically invites them for a walk. Shortly after, the drivers responsible for the attack on Wu Chen are captured. A man receives news that his subordinates were caught by Li Rotai and without hesitation, orders Plan B to be activated. Jiang Chuan, Ding Rulong's trusted man, orders the payment to be doubled and demands a clean job in the shopping mall parking lot. As he walks, Wu Chen answers a call and informs them that he is at Xinmao. On the other end of the line, the person asks him to go to a busy location, as they will arrive soon. He agrees, bids farewell to his dear Miss Li, and ends the call. As he exits the elevator, he notices a broken camera and immediately understands that the enemy reinforcements have already arrived. Soon after, the assailants draw knives and advance toward him. Wu Chen grabs grabs one of their wrists and hits him hard in the chin. Then he kicks another man aside, creating space. The fight continues inside the elevator as he faces the others. Without hesitation, he delivers a direct punch to the face of another aggressor. Meanwhile, Lee Robing orders her men to find Wu Chen immediately, and one of them informs her that he is in the elevator. She asks which floor he is on, receiving the first basement floor as a reply. Upon arriving at the location, one of her companions presses the button to call the elevator. When the door opens, Wu Chen appears before them, standing over the bodies of the defeated men. Lee Robing and her men stare at the elevator door as she calls out to him loudly. Wu Chen greets her casually, calling her, "My dear Miss Lee." Without hesitation, she runs towards him. He asks, "Aren't you afraid of getting your clothes dirty?" Lee Robing replies, "We need to go to the hospital." Calmly, he just asks, "Why?" She points out that he is covered in blood and asks, "Do you even know where you were injured?" Wu Chen states that he suffered no injuries and even teases her for touching him, leaving her shocked to realize he defeated 6 assassins without a scratch. He confirms the situation, saying, "All I need now is a bath at home." Before that, he picks up a cell phone from one of the fallen men, takes a selfie with the defeated attackers in the background, and sends the picture. Immediately after, the device starts ringing, and Jiang Chuan is on the line looking for Lao Dao. Wu Chen answers and asks, "Have you seen the image I sent?" Then, he tells Jiang Chuan to forward the photo to Ding Rulong and warn him that his last days have come. After that, he hands the cell phone to one of Lee Robing's men and asks them to call an ambulance for the phone's owner. While she supports him, Wu Chen announces, "I will leave Donghai for 2 days and head south." Lee Robing questions him, "Are you planning to kill Ding Rulong?" He kisses her and asks, "Please don't leave." Then, he pulls away and suggests, "Let's go home and clean up before we continue this conversation." Meanwhile, in another residence, a voice incredulously repeats, "That can't be true." 2 young women carefully watch a computer screen, and one of them comments, "The #1 song of the week is really good." Song Xuan realizes that the song with over 4,000 comments is Soul Remedy, written by her senior, Wu Chen. Her friend questions the handwritten sheet music, finding that method outdated. Song Xuan decides she needs to confirm everything directly with Wu Chen and goes to the balcony to call him. At that very moment, Lee Robing sees Wu Chen's phone ringing and wonders if Ding Rulong is trying something again. She answers the call and coldly asks, "Do you want to die?" Startled, Song Xuan asks, "Isn't this senior Wu Chen's phone?" She explains, "I called to talk about the song." Lee Robing demands to know, "What song are you talking about?" The young woman on the other end introduces herself as his girlfriend, saying, "I called to apologize for a misunderstanding." The mention of the surname, Song, along with the apology, immediately makes her suspicious. Song Xuan, in turn, finds it strange that his supposed girlfriend knows nothing about the song. Hearing this, Lee Robing asks, "Am I being investigated?" She then abruptly ends the call. Soon after, she knocks on the bathroom door, announcing his junior is on the phone. Wu Chen answers the call and agrees to meet Miss Song. Then, he hangs up and explains to Lee Robing, "Song Xuan wants to buy my music." She praises his talent, but Wu Chen reminds her, "I haven't finished my bath yet." Then, the two kiss, and she asks, "What else are you good at?" He warns her, "You're playing with fire." At that moment, her cell phone rings, and Lee Robing questions, "Who could be calling at this hour?" Looking at the screen, she sees Ding Rulong's name, and Wu Chen tells her, "Answer it while I grab a towel." On the call, he tries to explain himself, but she merely replies, "Your men were no match." Sitting on Wu Chen's lap, she confirms, "The call is from that idiot." He scolds her for her attitude, and she complains, "That pinch hurt." On the other end of the line, Ding Rulong listens to the fragmented and breathless conversation. Wu Chen then asks, "Do you know what mistake you made?" He suggests that there will be a punishment. Lee Robing apologizes and begs, "Please don't punish me." She comments, "He hung up and probably broke his phone." But Wu Chen replies, "That would be too easy." She changes the subject and asks him, "What did you mean by punishment?" With his hands raised, he replies, "As for that, the decision is entirely yours." Then, he informs her, "I will meet Wu Yurong later and ask you to cooperate if you receive any calls." Lee Robing questions him, "Shouldn't the meeting be with Song Xuan?" Wu Chen explains, "While I will meet with Song Xuan, the meeting with Wu Yurong will also happen today, as it is an obligation." Li Ruotai enters the room and calls for his sister and brother-in-law. He then apologizes to Wu Chen, taking the blame for what happened and promising it won't happen again. Lee Robing warns him right after, stating that she knows exactly what he's thinking and therefore forbids him from acting that way. Still, the brother argues that Wu Chen was lucky this time and insists that Ding Ruilong must die. Faced with this, she asks Wu Chen to talk some sense into him. Then, Wu Chen asks Ah Tai if Lao Dao, the man he wanted to keep alive, is okay. Upon receiving confirmation, he states that he will have a conversation with him. Li Ruotai questions him about this matter, and Wu Chen allows him to come along, provided he promises not to act irrationally. He agrees, as long as Ding Ruilong dies in the end. Soon after, Wu Chen tells them both that he needs to resolve some pending matters. From inside a car, a man photographs Wu Chen as he walks down the street. Upon arriving at the cafe, he greets Miss Song. Song Xuan then asks if his family runs a small restaurant. Wu Chen confirms that his family owns a noodle shop, but Song Xuan accuses him of selling the Song to get rid of his older girlfriend. He just stares at her, while she offers to help him earn money, saying, "You shouldn't waste your talent." Song Xuan points out the success of Soul Remedy and highlights his potential to become a celebrity sought after by major companies. He denies any intention of debuting and questions the true purpose of the meeting. She then asks him to write another song. Wu Chen sets the price at 10,000, and she readily agrees to pay. Next, he demands 50% of the song's profits, which she accepts without hesitation. Song Xuan agrees, as long as the song maintains the standard of Soul Remedy, and he promises to return the money if it doesn't go viral. Upon receiving the lyrics, she reads the title, "A Song for You," and realizes the song was made for her. Wu Chen confirms receipt of the money, states that he still has other things to resolve, and bids farewell. Already inside the car, he declares that the appetizer has been served. He states that it's time for the main course, but decides to skip the intermediate process. His car speeds down the street, rapidly swerving past other vehicles. A man on the phone reports, "We couldn't block the target." On the other end of the line, the person asks, "What exactly happened?" He explains that Wu Chen seems to know he's being pursued and is therefore driving directly to the company. She finds the attitude interesting and orders, "Take him to the 16th floor." Shortly after, a man announces that he has arrived, and a voice from inside invites him in. Wu Chen enters the room, while one of the men asks him to step forward. Standing before him are Wu Yurong, the CEO of Sen Lan Group, accompanied by her bodyguard Chu Yan. Then, Wu Chen questions Director Wu, asking, "Wasn't it a bit rude to invite me that way?" She replies that she doesn't understand his objective and states that, in fact, he is the one being rude. Next, Wu Yurong orders the bodyguard to leave the room. Before leaving, Chu Yan warns him, "Don't try anything." Alone, she invites him to sit down and asks, "What is your purpose concerning my daughter, and does Li Robing know about this meeting?" Wu Chen retorts, asking, "Why do you care so much about a daughter fathered by someone else?" Soon after, he reveals that Wu Yurong was forced to marry and always threatened her husband with a knife. He continues, explaining how she used excuses to avoid her husband in the mornings. Next, he details that after Song Xuan's birth, she began to turn against her husband's family. Wu Yurong comments that Song Xiang is also dead and invites him. "Let's talk about Xuan Xuan." She warns him that even though she didn't give birth to the girl, she carries her blood, advising him, "Give up any ill intentions." Then Wu Chen suggests she investigate better, as his true focus isn't her daughter, but Wu Yurong herself. She comments on the ambition of young people nowadays and asks, "What kind of thoughts do you have about me?" Wu Chen explains that the situation is complicated and that he had to use this method to find her, as she always keeps her guard up. Wu Yurong questions him about this complexity, wanting to know, "What are you doing? And does Li Robing know everything?" He simply confirms, she knows. Finally, Wu Yurong approaches and asks, "Now that we are face to face, explain these complicated thoughts in detail." Wu Chen reveals to Wu Yurong that Ding Ruilong is coming after him. She questions what that has to do with her, though it's clear she knows him. Then, he states with a smile that he will kill him. Wu Yurong wishes him good luck, and Wu Chen advises her to withdraw her investment from Chuanheng Fundings while there's still time. Indignantly, she says she doesn't understand the connection between his problems and her business, but he assures her that everything will collapse. The young man then declares that all of this will happen because of him. Wu Yurong asks if he intends to pick a fight with her, but he clarifies that his target is Ding Ruilong, and that she is merely involved in the situation. She denies any contact or interest in the matter, but Wu Chen states that, in fact, she does. Next, he explains that the largest shareholder of Chuanheng Fundings is Huowan Qiu, who has a direct connection to the true owner of Beiwang Fundings, Ding Weifeng. According to him, people call him Third Master Ding, an important member of the family's second generation and the third son of Old Master Ding. Wu Chen concludes by saying that he is also Ding Ruilong's third uncle. Even so, Wu Yurong insists that she has no connection to Ding Weifeng of Beiwang Fundings. Wu Chen realizes that she doesn't understand the depth of the bond between Huowan Qiu and the Ding family, and emphasizes that any problem with them will end up affecting her. Faced with this, she questions him if he is really messing with the Ding family. He reflects on how Li Robing's boyfriend could face them without support, and reveals that he is there to advise her, as Robing admires her. Wu Yurong then decides to test the veracity of the story, since he mentioned Li Robing. Immediately, she calls Chief Li, who greets her from the other end of the line. Wu Yurong informs her that her boyfriend Wu Chen is there, and Li Robing confirms confirms that she already knew that. Then she asks if Chief Lee knows that he is trying to pick a fight with the Ding family, receiving an affirmative answer. Wu Yurong continues, questioning if it's the Lee family that is supporting him. However, Lee Robing explains that he spoke directly with her father, which makes her hang up the phone to talk better with Wu Chen. She turns, offering him a drink to relax after so much conversation. Wu Chen simply thanks her and accepts the wine. Wu Yurong then approaches with 2 full glasses and both toast. Over the next half hour, Wu Chen calmly explains all the pros and cons of the incident involving Ding Ruilong and Dong Yuan Tao. After that, she stands up and offers him a bit more to drink. Next, she presents a bottle of Chateau Petrus from the year 2000. However, as she turns, she ends up stumbling. Wu Yurong falls backward with the bottle still in her hand. In the last instant, Wu Chen catches her and asks her to be careful. She apologizes for not having seen him behind her, while he asks if she's all right, commenting that it would have been a shame if she had fallen. Wu Yurong apologizes again, saying that she might have rushed a bit with the drink. Given this, he suggests they stop there as she seems a bit dizzy, but she claims she's fine and says it was a pleasure to meet him. As she walks away, she stumbles again, and Wu Chen warns her once more to be careful. She then comments that her shoes are getting in the way. Without hesitation, he picks her up, saying that the floor is cold and not very clean. Then, he carefully places her on the sofa. Wu Chen comments that if she still wants to drink and talk, they can continue. She then asks if he carried her on purpose. Wu Chen confirms with a smile that he did it on purpose. Then he questions if she was pretending to be drunk, suggesting that she also acted intentionally for him to hug her. Wu Yurong is surprised to realize that he discovered her disguise. Then, Wu Chen approaches and says that although she gave him the opportunity, the tactics used with other men are unnecessary with him. He invites her to talk, claiming to understand her better than she understands herself, but she questions his excessive confidence. While drinking, he asks if her husband really committed suicide or if he was driven to despair. Wu Chen reveals that the director he knows is 42 years old and is still single. Then he asks if, at night, when she feels lonely, she resorts to a certain object kept in her bedside drawer. With the wine glass in hand, he states that it's natural to have intense desires at that age, and there's no reason to be ashamed. Soon after, he asks if she never thought about starting her life over, so as not to live so exhaustingly, quoting the lyrics of one of her songs. Wu Chen then just asks if she still wants another glass. Wu Yurong stares at him and demands to know who he is exactly. She observes him closely, trying to understand how someone could be so mysterious. Wu Chen asks her not to be surprised, saying that he even knows about the theft of the Song family's designs and the schemes she created, emphasizing, however, that he is not her enemy. She realizes that he knows secrets capable of sending her to jail. Now, only 2 choices remain. The first is to kill him and make him disappear. The other option would be to maximize their relationship and take advantage of his skills. However, he is too mysterious to be eliminated, leaving only one alternative. Wu Yurong agrees that they will not be enemies and presses him, wanting to know how he intends to escape the Ding family. The 2 toast while he invites her to join him, but she questions if Miss Lee won't be jealous. Wu Chen reveals that Su Qingying is also his woman, and Robing is not jealous, as she is not an ordinary woman. She then understands what really happened at the Jinfu board meeting. Wu Yurong takes a sip of her wine. With that, her decision is made. She states that she has drunk enough and invites him to her apartment for tea to sober up. Holding her foot, Wu Chen agrees to go, since the idea is to drink tea. At the door, she asks if he has a lot of free time that day. He confirms that he does, while she leans on him to put on her shoe. Wu Yurong kisses him right there. Wu Chen comments that this kind of initiative should come from the man. Then, he touches her lip and asks, "Is it okay to do that right at the entrance?" He lifts her by the waist, but she asks him not to be impatient. Then, Wu Chen picks her up, reminding her that he has plenty of time, and throws her onto the bed. Wu Chen takes off his shirt, while she asks him to go slow. Lying down, Wu Yurong says, "You'll have to put in some effort." The next morning arrives. Song Xuan enters the house calling for her mother. In bed, Wu Yurong is startled to realize that Xuan Xuan has returned. Quickly, she tells Wu Chen to hide under the bed. Song Xuan stops at the bedroom door and stares at her mother. Covered in bed, Wu Yurong calls her daughter's name. Song Xuan says that she misunderstood and, realizing there's a man there, decides to leave. Wu Chen smiles beside her as his phone rings, displaying the call identified as Uncle. Li Robing asks if Wu Chen went looking for her, but Wu Yurong replies that he just left his phone next to her. She then denies that he went after her. On the other end of the line, the woman asks if she was the one who looked for him. Wu Yurong denies it once again, and Li Robing then asks where they are at that moment. Naturally, she replies that they are at her house. Li Robing wants to know if the director asked Wu Chen to spend the night there. Smiling, Wu Yurong confirms that the 2 of them slept together. In her office, Li Robing says that they need to talk. Wu Yurong then invites her to come to Nancheng. Sitting on the bed, Wu Chen asks, "Was that Ruo Bing on the phone?" She confirms that the young woman is coming and says, "I'm going to take take a shower first. Songxuan asks her mother, "Won't I disturb the couple if I decide to stay home?" Soon after, she asks, "Who is that uncle? And did you already know him?" Wu Yurong replies, "It's better for you to take this opportunity to get to know each other since you'll have to interact in the future." She then affectionately strokes her daughter's hair. Songxuan says goodbye to her mother and says, "You can introduce me to the uncle another time." 40 minutes later, the doorbell rings. Wu Chen opens the door and greets Ro Bing. She comments, "You really always manage to bring me surprises." He thanks her for the compliment and soon after asks, "Are you jealous?" Li Robing remains silent and turns her back to him. Then she asks, "Why can't you be a little more considerate of me?" Wu Chen approaches and says, "I love you." Li Robing stares at him, surprised by those words. She pulls away and asks, "Have you ever said that to anyone else?" He denies it. With a smile, Li Robing turns around and says, "I love you too." He hugs her from behind, but she interrupts him, asking, "How will you handle the situation if Su Qingying or the other person finds out?" Wu Chen reassures her, saying, "None of them will make a scene." Wu Chen then heads to the door, saying, "I'll go home first so you can talk to Director Wu." Wu Yurong appears next and says, "I apologize for having made Miss Li wait." Li Robing suggests, "Let's set aside unnecessary discussions and be direct." But the other woman says, "I don't understand what you mean." Faced with this, Li Robing demands, "Kneel and apologize." Wu Yurong states, "I see no reason to apologize to you." Li Robing explains, "If someone sleeps with my man, they should at least greet me." The director, however, replies, "That's not necessary, as we're both just enjoying life, and there's no future for our relationship." Li Robing then states, "You are not the first, nor will you be the last woman to sleep with Wu Chen." Wu Yurong realizes that, unlike how she deals with Su Qingying, Li Robing shows a lack of confidence when confronting her. She asks, "Is it true that Miss Li hasn't moved into Wu Chen's house yet?" The other confirms, saying, "He can be unpredictable." Li Robing recalls, "He turned Su Qingying into a lover in just one day, and now Director Wu is in the same position." Wu Yurong realizes that she is being treated as insignificant, just like Su Qingying. She reflects that Wu Chen is more committed to destroying the Ding family than to possessing her, which indicates that his true goal is to win Li Robing's heart. This patience, according to her, is different from how she was treated, making clear an exclusive favoritism for Li Robing. Li Robing then states, "I will give Director Wu another chance." Wu Yurong, in turn, only asks, "Why do you need to be so aggressive?" Li Robing demands that she kneel and apologize. In response, Wu Yurong approaches and kisses her forehead. Calmly, she states that she understands her feelings and explains that the kiss is a retribution for the favor done to Wu Chen. She then asks if that apology was satisfactory. Smiling, she laments that Li Robing wasn't present last night, as the three of them could have been together. The young woman with glasses questions what kind of nonsense is being said. Then the director asks if she felt the sincerity, or if it will be necessary to apologize again. Li Robing demands respect. Finally, she concludes that there is no way to communicate with someone like this. She turns, says goodbye, and leaves. Alone, Wu Yurong finally admits that she has fallen in love with Wu Chen. Already in the car, Li Robing calls him and asks why he only encounters crazy women. On the other end of the line, Wu Chen just asks what happened. She replies that the incident that day was even more outrageous than Su Qingying's, but decides not to talk about it anymore. Wu Chen realizes that Wu Yurong handled the situation skillfully, without letting Li Robing get the upper hand. He reflects that the director probably won't provoke her again, as Li Robing is resolute and doesn't care about the consequences. Meanwhile, Wu Yurong comments to Wu Chen that he should trust her a little more to resolve things. At that moment, he receives a call from Li Ruotai, who announces that something serious has happened. In a hospital room, Li Ruotai accuses Ding Ruilong, still bandaged, of acting recklessly in his territory. Then, he continues to yell, accusing him of daring to conspire against his brother-in-law. Taken by rage, he grabs him by the collar and demands to know who else is in Donghai and what their plans are. The man lying down remains silent, and Li Ruotai screams for him to speak. Soon after, he points a gun at Ding Ruilong's head, threatening to pull the trigger if he doesn't respond. One of his men advises him to calm down, reminding him that Brother Chen is on his way. Li Ruotai agrees that it makes sense and lights a cigarette. Then, he invites his men to go outside to smoke, so as not to scare the patient. However, when they turn around, they realize the bed is empty. Wang Jiangyuan gets irritated when he finds the room without the patient. While the nurse informs him that he escaped, one of his men points to the open window. He approaches and wonders how the fugitive had the strength to to climb the steel pipe and escape. On the phone with Wu Chen, he explains that the man disappeared, but assures him they will find him, which leaves his brother-in-law suspicious. Wu Chen realizes that before meeting old Dao, the only person capable of pressuring the fugitive was Li Ruotai. Wang Zhengyuan tries to stammer the truth to his brother-in-law. However, Wu Chen interrupts him, stating that he already knows everything and will find the person himself. After the call, Wang Zhengyuan wonders why his brother-in-law hung up without letting him help with the search. Wu Chen puts on a cap, remembering that, according to the 1,000-year samsara, there is only one place old Dao could have gone. Then, he gets into his car, confident that old Dao cannot escape and that they will meet very soon. The street sign indicates 2nd Shuangqiao Xinmen Street in the Western District. Wu Chen arrives at the location and parks in front. Then, he approaches a door covered with flyers, one of Ding Rulong's safe houses. Cigarette butts scattered on the floor revealed that the hideout was never used. He finds the key hidden inside the outdoor electrical box. Then, he enters the apartment, knowing that the fugitive will need clothes and won't arrive in time. The interior is fully furnished and gives off a welcoming appearance. Wu Chen notices there's no dust and concludes that someone cleans the place regularly. They thought of everything to create the impression that the house was actually inhabited. While inspecting the room, he finds something hidden under a cushion. It's a briefcase locked with a code. The password is deciphered, and the briefcase opens. Inside, there are documents, money, and a cell phone. In another compartment, he also finds a pistol accompanied by bullets. With this, he concludes that, possessing these items, old Dao will certainly appear. Then, he calls a tie. Wu Chen instructs him to request an ambulance for 2nd Xinmen Street in the Western District. At that exact moment, the apartment door opens. A man wearing a mask and cap enters, stating that he is finally safe. However, upon noticing a gun on the table, he realizes someone is there and advances with a knife. Wu Chen intercepts him and asks why he is going so far. The man tries to force the blade forward. Even so, he is easily restrained by the young man. The assailant then recognizes him as Wu Chen. He knows he has no chance of beating him, especially being severely injured. Wu Chen calms him, saying, "If I wanted to kill you, I would have done it in the elevator." He also informs him that an ambulance has already been called. Realizing there's no intention to fight, the man sees an opportunity to escape. However, Wu Chen sits down and asks, "Does Malingshan really not want to talk?" Then, he reveals that at 21, he faked his own death, deceived the police, and changed his name 4 times, finally becoming Liu Yundao. Malingshan recalls that his real name was legally dead and wonders how he discovered the truth. This means he also obtained information about his parents and his 2 sisters. At this, he tightens his grip on the knife, determined to fight desperately for his family. Wu Chen agrees, stating, "Protecting family is something every man should do." Then, he slides the gun across the table and says, "I will give old Dao a chance." Malingshan picks up the pistol and points it at him while Wu Chen instructs him, "Shoot directly." Wu Chen continues, "Perhaps the gun is empty, and this is all just a provocation." With a calm smile, Wu Chen asks, "Is old Dao willing to bet?" Malingshan realizes that betting is the only option he has left. He knows that drawing a weapon against Wu Chen would be the same as flirting with death itself. With apparent calm, the young man asks if he truly believes that he wouldn't dare to kill him. Wu Chen states that he is not making a bet and assures him that he hasn't told anyone else what he knows about him. Still, the man says it's useless to try and distract him, while the other insists that he only wishes to talk. Malingshan then questions what they would talk about, making it clear that he will not say anything related to the Ding family. The young man reveals that he knows about the case of Wang Ruida from the Wang family, whom Ding Ruilong ordered to be killed. Then, with a subtle smile, he adds that Ding Ruilong also murdered Ang Tun. The man remembers Ang Tun, one of the central figures of the Golden Flower Group. He remembers that the leader's nephew died mysteriously 5 years ago, and that he never found the person responsible for the crime. Wu Chen explains that this is one of the biggest regrets of his life, and furthermore, Ding Ruilong's second advantage. Even so, Malingshan accuses him of using false information to deceive him and induce him to betray the Ding family. Then, he picks up the weapon and points it at Wu Chen, stating that there's nothing more to be said. The barrel of the pistol is pressed against the young man's forehead. Malingshan asks if he has any last words, as he pulls out a piece of cloth. Immediately after, he pulls the trigger, but the weapon was wrapped in the cloth. Then, he bids him farewell. Wu Chen remains motionless, maintaining a smile on his face. Malingshan questions why he doesn't show even a drop of fear, even with the gun pointed at him. The young man simply states that he believed he wouldn't shoot. After that, the man removes the mask from his face and lowers the weapon. Wu Chen says that because he gambled his own life, he will trust him and show him the evidence. Surprised to learn about the existence of evidence, Malingshan is invited by him to sit down. With his phone in hand, the young man explains that Lao Li needs to deceive someone to discover the truth. The man stares at him, clearly confused. Finally, Wu Chen instructs him to call Jiang Chuan and tell a story about having tried to use Li Ruobing as a hostage, and he agrees. On the phone, he reports that she wasn't seriously injured, but the person on the other end of the line becomes agitated. The voice scolds him, "You touched Li Ruobing," while Ma Lingshan defends himself, saying, "I needed to save my own life." Then, he informs Master Jiang that he has been cleaning up the Ding family's mess and, from the beginning, hiding the fact that they killed Ang Tun. On the other end of the line, Jiang Chuan is shocked to discover that this secret has come to light. At that moment, Wu Chen takes the phone from his hand. Immediately after, he starts speaking directly with Jiang Chuan. Surprised, Jiang Chuan asks why he is with Lao Li, but Wu Chen returns the question, wanting to know if Ding Rulong is not in South Guang City to visit Old Master Ding. On the phone, Jiang Chuan reveals that the young master returned to his hometown for urgent matters, and because of that, ended up injuring Li Ruobing. At that instant, he realizes that this could ruin the alliance between the Ding and Li families, and that everything could go wrong for him. Wu Chen simply wishes him good luck and hangs up the call. Then, he explains that Jiang Chuan will not warn the Ding family because people about to be sacrificed do not remain loyal. Furthermore, he adds that Jiang Chuan does not want to die, as he has family and money abroad. After that, he instructs Lao Li to prepare his men to capture Jiang Chuan in South Guang City, as he will certainly go there before fleeing. Ma Lingshan agrees to capture him, stating that it's not worth continuing to work for the Ding family, and that he owes this favor to Wu Chen. At that moment, he hears a noise outside and wonders what is happening, as it seems that several people have arrived. Finally, he stares at Wu Chen, suspicious that it might just be another trick. A man opens the door and is surprised to come face to face with Mr. Wu. Wu Chen asks everyone to wait downstairs so as not to disturb the residents. Then he turns and asks Old Dao to continue the conversation. In another location, Ma Lingshan orders by phone to bring reinforcements to capture Jiang Chuan immediately. On the other end of the line, the man hesitates, but Ma Lingshan tells him to stop asking questions. Wu Chen reveals that he knows their interest in Jiang Chuan is to find out if Ding Ruilong killed Ang Tun. Then he recounts that 5 years prior, Ang Tun brought some people to the country to negotiate. The plan was to smuggle jade with Ding Ruilong and thus grow within the Jinhua Corporation, but the proposal was rejected. Feeling humiliated by the refusal, Ang Tun began to threaten him, trying to force him to cooperate. That same night, Ang Tun simply disappeared from the world. Ma Lingshan remains silent, listening carefully to the whole story. Wu Chen states that the great regret of his life has been resolved, and that he will now give him another valuable gift. Soon after, he makes a call and announces that Old Dao is under his control, demanding a ransom of $100 million. On the other end of the line, a gray-haired man asks who is speaking. He then introduces himself as Wu Chen and asks if the other has heard of him. Wu Chen confirms that Old Dao failed his mission, but assures that he is still alive. Next, he justifies the ransom amount, but the man makes a counteroffer of $50 million and suggests the exchange at the border. Wu Chen praises the boss's demeanor and asks if he would also like to know who killed Ang Tun. The man demands that he tell everything he knows about what happened. Then, Wu Chen reveals the agreement between Kun Han and Old Dao to assassinate Wang Ruida at Ding Ruilong's command. He questions how it was possible to discover the truth about Ang Tun, but not about the order to kill Wang Ruida. Wu Chen states that he and Ding Ruilong are mortal enemies, and that the Wang family will find out everything, making the man on the other end of the line tense. Ma Lingshan perceives the gravity of the situation and begins to wonder what the gift Wu Chen had mentioned would be. Finally, he asks the man to calm down, stating that he wouldn't talk about Ang Tun if it represented a threat. The man asks if Wu Chen wants help to attack the Ding family. Wu Chen refuses any partnership and merely exposes the facts, making clear the consequences that the Wang and Li families will cause. Then, he reveals his true intention and proposes a deal to Ma Lingshan. He wants Old Dao to work for him, ensuring that Wang Ruida's death has no connection to Jinhua. Ma Lingshan ponders the presented proposal. After a few moments, the man on the phone finally accepts the agreement, provided that everything is true. At that moment, Ma Lingshan realizes that the general had been listening to the entire conversation. He confirms that, indeed, he heard everything. The general then questions him about how he could have failed. Ma Lingshan explains that not even 6 men together could defeat Wu Chen. When asked if he is being threatened, he simply replies that he wants to change his life because he is tired. Wu Chen congratulates him on achieving his freedom, and Ma Lingshan tries to say something. However, he interrupts him and instructs him to capture Jiang Chuan in secret, mentioning that an ambulance is already on its way. They say goodbye with the promise to talk again after Ma Lingshan recovers. Wu Chen then heads home, saying that he needs to take a nap. He then appears sleeping soundly in his bed. something moves under the covers at the foot of the bed. Li Ruobing emerges from under the blanket. He asks what she is doing there, and she replies, "I wanted to reward you." Wu Chen approaches to kiss her, asking her to grant him the reward. Finally, he lays her on the bed and begins to remove her clothes. Li Ruobing comments that they have only known each other for 8 or 9 days. In response, he asks if she believes that, even so, he doesn't know everything about her. She challenges him, asking for examples of what he claims to know. Wu Chen states that he knows she is only there to deceive him, and adds that they cannot do anything today. She asks him not to say that, insisting that it is not a deception. Li Ruobing sits down and comments that she knows her dear Mr. Wu looks a bit pathetic at that moment. Soon after, she kisses him so he won't be sad. Wu Chen warns her that Tai will come that night and explains that he is not angry about her dismissing old Dao. She responds that he cannot pamper him too much, as those who err need to apologize. The doorbell rings, and Li Ruobing explains that it is the guards who went to buy groceries. She then says that for now that's all and leaves the room carrying a bag. Shortly after, she returns and asks Mr. Wu where the kitchen is. He points the direction and asks if Ruobing intends to cook dinner. She confirms, saying that he will be able to taste her culinary skills, learned when she studied abroad. Wu Chen comments that he already knew she cooked, and she explains that certain skills are not forgotten. Then, Li Ruobing holds a fish and claims to be a better cook than him, asking if he knows how to cook. Suddenly, however, the fish slips from her hands. It falls to the floor along with a plate, which breaks into several pieces. She tries to pick up the slippery fish from the floor, saying that everything is fine. Wu Chen asks her to go change, as he will take care of the cleaning. In the shower, she laments that she wanted to cook so they could eat as a family when Tai arrived. She also worries that Wu Chen might not like her brother because of the incident with old Dao and ends up blaming the fish for what happened. Without much time, she decides to call a chef and ask them to prepare dinner. However, she stops when she hears sounds coming from the kitchen. Upon returning, Li Ruobing finds a complete and ready meal on the table. Wearing an apron, Wu Chen approaches and asks what she is looking at. She is surprised to discover that he knows how to cook and begins to wonder what other skills he still hides. Then, she takes a picture of him while he prepares the food. Li Ruobing approaches and asks if he has ever cooked for Su Qingying. Wu Chen responds that she is the first woman he has cooked for, not counting when he is in his own home. At this, Li Ruobing hugs him and gives him a kiss on the cheek. She reminds him that time is short, as Tai will arrive soon, and there are still dishes to be prepared. Outside the house, Li Rutai arrives, calling for his brother-in-law. Li Ruobing tells her brother to eat, explaining that their brother-in-law prepared all the dishes. Impressed, he tastes the food and praises it, stating that he has never eaten anything so delicious. She asks him to apologize properly, without empty words or exaggerated acting. Wu Chen then offers some of the food to Ruobing. She tastes it and is surprised by the flavor, saying that it is as good as a Michelin chef's. He asks Li Rutai to eat more and adds that he and his sister can come back whenever they want, also not to worry about the incident involving old Dao. Later, Li Ruobing comments to her husband that it is late and they should rest. He reminds her that she thought they couldn't do anything that day. She places a finger over his lips, asking for silence. Finally, Li Ruobing whispers, "There are always ways, even in inconvenient moments." Wu Chen questions her for brushing her teeth so many times, even listing the times she has already done so. He then approaches and asks if she isn't afraid of overdoing it. Li Ruobing spits into the sink, calls him a shameless scoundrel, and watches him walk away. He offers the breakfast he prepared, but she refuses, explaining that she has a meeting at the company. She asks if his commitment involves meeting Wu Yurong, but he denies it. Then Li Ruobing approaches and gives him a kiss on the cheek. As she says goodbye, she asks him to be a good boy and heads to the company. At work, an employee hands some documents to Li Ruobing. Soon after, she answers a call from Su Qingying, who asks if she knows where Wu Chen is. Su Qingying explains that he is not in Donghai and that he didn't want to say where he was going. Li Ruobing asks her to calm down, says she will ask, and ends the call. She then calls her dear Mr. Wu and questions, "Where are you? What's this business?" Hearing an unknown woman's voice on the call, she asks, "Who are you with? Why are you afraid that Su Qingying will find out?" Finally, she ends the call, telling him to take care of your affairs. I won't bother you anymore. In a nightclub, he comments on the number of calls received in such a short conversation time. Wu Chen sits calmly before them, his cell phone resting on the table. The fifth elder, Si-Ru Song, tells him to stop wasting time, but the woman beside him observes that he is just playing with both of them. The cell phone rings once more, and Wu Chen simply answers it. The woman comments that she was right, which infuriates Si-Ru Song for being made a fool of. He stands up, points a gun, and yells at Wu Chen, "Break your phone if you want to negotiate." In the blink of an eye, the gun that was in Si-Ru Song's hand is now pointed at him by Wu Chen himself. The elder and the woman are shocked by what they just saw, and he calls him a ghost. Si Rusong's men storm into the room and surround Wu Chen with weapons drawn. Now calmer, Si Rusong warns that his phone is ringing and asks if he intends to answer it. Wu Chen answers the call while holding the gun steady, and a woman complains about the delay, but he merely replies, "I'm handling business." Wu Yurong asks why he seems so rushed and confesses that she missed him so much that she even dreamed of him last night. She invites him to lunch, but then asks, "By any chance, are you with Li Ruobing?" Wu Chen lies, saying that he is out of state and will be back in 2 days, promising to call tonight before ending the call. As soon as he hangs up the phone, one of the henchmen approaches from behind, wielding a knife. Wu Chen quickly turns, blocks the attack with his arm, and instantly fires the gun at the assailant. He then points the gun directly at Si Rusong. The fifth elder kneels on the ground and offers 20 million. Soon after, he increases the offer to 50 million, begging to be spared. Desperate, Si Rusong raises the offer to 200 million, promising to cover any amount he received. Wu Chen states, "I just hate being sworn at. Let's talk alone," making Si Rusong order his men to withdraw. He helps him up, warning him there's still 1 bullet left in the gun. He then returns the pistol, and Si Rusong submissively agrees to do everything he's asked. Wu Chen reveals that he knows Si Rusong arranged a woman for Ding Ruilong, and that he's repeating the same thing now. Finally, he questions, "What exactly are you plotting this time?" Wu Chen proceeds to list the achievements of the fifth elder Mao, mentioning his various businesses, valued at over 30 billion. Si Rusong found the speech odd because the young man had investigated his past in great detail, yet he didn't seem like an assassin sent by Ding Ruilong. He asks the elder not to panic, and reminds him that the Gu family from Mo Du forced him to deceive Ding Ruilong. Wu Chen explains that it would be strange not to be close to the Gu family since he works in Mo Du. The elder can't understand his actions and questions what he truly wants. Wu Chen states that he did an excellent job dealing with Ding Ruilong. Next, he asks if the elder holds any resentment against him, and the answer is affirmative. Hearing this, Si Rusong relaxes, invites him to sit down and says, "We are allies. We can talk calmly." Once seated, Wu Chen comments, "I've heard that Chief Mao has been looking after He Shuqing." The mere mention of the name surprises the elder. He recalls the first time he saw her and how he felt a desire to possess her. However, her distinct aura warned him that she was an extremely dangerous woman. For this reason, he decided to investigate her. Observing her in secret, he realized that the loneliness in her eyes was real, almost making him want to help her. Even so, he knew the risks he would face if he took such an action. Restraining himself, he kept her under surveillance, both to prevent other men from approaching her and to sell a favor to Ding Ruilong. Si Rusong finally understands that Wu Chen's resentment towards Ding is linked to Li Shiqing. Then, he deduces that only with a lover like that would she not be afraid of Ding Ruilong. The elder offers to arrange everything and ensure his friend has a great time. Wu Chen corrects him, saying, "In fact, I intend to take them to Donghai." Si Rusong laughs and asks, "Is Mo Du no longer enough for you?" He reveals that he has already met He Shuqing. Wu Chen explains that he sought him out because he is He Xingxing's new tutor, and emphasizes that he doesn't want Ding Ruilong to find out. Surprised, the elder questions him about this story of being a tutor, and also taking her to Donghai. He shows confusion, as Donghai is Li Ruotai's territory, and asks, "What should I call you?" The young man simply replies, "My name is Wu Chen." At that moment, Si Rusong's phone begins to ring. He asks Mr. Wu for permission to answer the call, and permission is granted. On the phone, he asks Brother Gu, "By any chance, do you know Wu Chen from Donghai?" He explains, "The young man is in my office." On the other end of the line, Gu Ruibo, Li Ruotai's friend, is completely shocked by the question. Gu Ruibo says, "I need to confirm something." He asks them to wait and announces, "I'll be there shortly." Wu Chen then asks, "Is Gu Ruibo on his way?" Si Rusong questions, "Why did we go through such a long roundabout way if you already knew each other?" He explains, "I don't know him personally, but we both know of each other's existence." He suggests, "Let's continue talking about He Shuqing." Si Rusong then guarantees, "You will not know anything about He Shuqing in the coming days." Next, Wu Chen calls Li Ruotai and comments, "I heard from a friend that your brother-in-law was in Mo Du." He asks, "Has Gu Ruibo contacted you?" The young man asks him to go easy on Brother Gu, saying, "We're like brothers." He states, "I'll talk to him." Wu Chen reassures him, explaining, "It's all just a misunderstanding, and I'm just here to discuss business." He announces, "The man has already arrived and we'll talk later." Gu Ruibo arrives accompanied by his men and stares at Si Rusong. On the phone, Li Ruotai asks Brother Gu to be polite, emphasizing, "Wu Chen is your brother-in-law." Gu Ruibo doesn't understand the request, so Tai insists insists, "Just be polite and don't irritate him." By his tone of voice, he realizes that Tai seems to be somewhat afraid of his brother-in-law. Faced with this, Gu Ruibo begins to wonder who exactly this Wu Chen is. On the phone, Li Ruotai warns him never to go against his brother-in-law, saying that he shouldn't blame him later for not warning him. Gu Ruibo asks what's happening while looking in Wu Chen's direction. Tai then explains that it was with his guidance that he managed to handle the Wei family's business so efficiently. He adds that his brother-in-law's past is something even the Li family couldn't uncover, but an agreement with his father obliges him to obey him. Gu Ruibo approaches Wu Chen in a friendly manner, saying, "Tai mentioned you countless times, and I should have been informed about your visit." Si Ru Song observes the scene, finding the warm treatment strange, something Gu Ruibo had never shown, not even to his own father. Gu Ruibo then reprimands Old Mao, stating, "Wu Chen is an extremely important guest." Old Mao agrees that it was all just a misunderstanding. Soon after, he invites Mr. Wu to a welcome dinner, and the two shake hands, with Wu Chen agreeing to follow his arrangements. At another moment, Gu Ruibo asks if he knows his older brother. He remembers how Tai described his brother-in-law as someone who might not even be human and who could predict the future. Wu Chen then asks, "Would you like to know how you can defeat your own brother?" Surprised, Gu Ruibo questions, "What do you really think about that, Mr. Wu?" Both belong to the third generation of the Gu family, are business rivals, and are known as the family's twin stars. He ponders that all of that could be discovered with a simple investigation, and wonders if Tai wasn't exaggerating. Still, Wu Chen states, "It's not a lack of opportunity, but rather, if you would have the courage to seize it." Gu Ruibo considers those words inappropriate, as he knows the relationship he has with his brother well. Wu Chen takes a sip of his drink and explains, "It's not about family matters, but just business, so you can become richer and more successful." Gu Ruibo then asks what he would need to do, and if it would be related to the mentioned audacity. At that moment, Wu Chen reveals that the answer is Ding Rui Long, leaving Gu Ruibo visibly surprised. The young man realizes that the intention is to use him to kill with a borrowed knife. This would put the Gu and Ding families in direct conflict, while the Ding family would have no reason to bother him. Thus, he could enjoy all the time he wanted with Li Ruobing. On the other hand, the Gu family could end up destroying itself in the process. Remembering Wu Chen's words about doing business, he decides to ask for more direct clarification. Gu Ruibo asks if the proposal involves taking over the Ding family's business, admitting that he has been fighting against them for years and is at a disadvantage. Wu Chen states that he knows his original method wouldn't work, and guarantees that the deal he proposes will put him far ahead of his brother in just 1 year. Given this, the young man decides that, with Tai's assurance, he is willing to bet everything on this opportunity. Then, Gu Ruibo declares with conviction, "I will do this business with you, Mr. Wu." Wu Chen takes out his phone and says he will make a call. He then invites the woman on the other end of the line to come to Modu immediately. The woman on the phone confirms she will arrive without delay, and Gu Ruibo realizes that voice clearly isn't Tai's sister's. For him, the chance to surpass his brother means he will now follow Wu Chen as his leader. Soon after, an employee escorts a woman inside, announcing, "Mr. Wu is waiting for you." With Wu Yurong's entrance, Gu Ruibo recognizes her as Miss Wu. He remembers the affectionate words Wu Chen exchanged with her on the phone moments earlier. Wu Yurong walks directly to the sofa where Wu Chen is sitting. Leaning in slightly, she asks him, "Please conclude the business soon, as I can't wait any longer." Wu Chen helps her sit down and comments in a relaxed tone about Sister Rong's recent stumbles. She greets Boss Gu, who immediately returns the greeting. Finally, he continues observing the scene, curious to find out what the proposed business will be. Wu Chen states that since everyone is on the same side, he will get straight to the point. He then explains the plan for Wu Yurong to withdraw her assets from businesses linked to the Ding family. About an hour later, Siru Song comments that the plans are meticulous and says he will make a call to have the files brought over, while he and Gu Ruibo go out for a smoke. Wu Yurong observes how efficient Wu Chen was in bringing her a business partner without prior notice. He merely asks if she is dissatisfied. Satisfied, she asks how she could thank him, but he replies that it's all part of the plan and that she was lucky to have met him at that moment. Wu Yurong stands up and asks him to spare her his lies. Soon after, she sits on his lap, insisting that he admit he did it for her. Leaning in even closer, she asks if he intends to let Gu Ruibo know about their relationship. Wu Chen replies that there's no need to tell, but adds that he also sees no problem if he finds out by chance. She then asks if, in fact, he fears that a leak would affect both him and Li. Outside, Gu Ruibo reacts to what he sees on his phone screen. He confirms to himself that he isn't mistaken, and that she really is with Wu Chen. He then begins to wonder if this is the same Wu Yurong he knew. Gu Ruibo recalls a ball where he saw people talking to his father, making equal efforts to please her. Even his uncle had said he would divorce immediately if she agreed to marry him. He then questions how such a woman ended up with Wu Chen, a young man of only 22, and concludes that anyone capable capable of handling her must be extraordinary. Faced with this, Gu Ruibo understands Tai's words and turns to the guests, suggesting they order dinner since they had almost forgotten about the meal. Wu Chen's phone rings and he answers, asking what happened. Speaking with Ruobing, Gu Ruibo realizes it's Tai's sister and Wu Chen's real girlfriend, wondering about Wu Chen's intention in putting the call on speakerphone. Li Ruobing asks if he's still busy and why he can't say what he's doing in Modu, but he just replies that he's busy and they'll talk later. Wu Yurong approaches Wu Chen and asks, "Is that Miss Li?" Gu Ruibo despairs, wondering if this would be a declaration of war against the official girlfriend. Over the phone, Li Ruobing asks if Wu Yurong went to Modu with him, and he confirms that he called her for serious business, offering her the chance to speak directly with Wu Yurong. Gu Ruibo feels that the situation is worse than if he himself had been caught cheating. Li Ruobing then tells herself that she will forgive him because it's work, and asks him to take care of his business, stating that she will wait. Wu Chen turns to Gu Ruibo and asks him to order the dishes so they can talk while they eat. He merely agrees with a nod. Gu Ruibo wonders how Li Ruobing managed to tolerate that situation and admits that a man capable of handling both women at the same time is truly extraordinary. He then hands Wu Chen a file containing all the information he had gathered about Ding Rui Long over years of investigation. Wu Chen explains the strategy of using agents to buy shares in the Ding family company and secretly contacting minority shareholders. They agree that once they reach a certain percentage of shares, they will be able to take control of the company. Gu Ruibo reflects that with his family's background, Wu Yurong's connections, and the intelligence provided by Wu Chen, defeat becomes impossible. Wu Chen then comments that, with the deal almost closed, it's time to discuss the division of shares among them. Gu Ruibo reacts, realizing his suspicions were correct. He proposes reserving 5% of the profits for expenses, and that Wu Chen and Wu Yurong take 60%. Wu Yurong is surprised, as she expected him to offer only 40%. Wu Chen does the math and observes that this would leave Gu Ruibo with only 35%. Still, he states that he sees this as the beginning of a friendship with Wu Chen. Wu Chen praises his attitude and toasts to a happy and fortunate partnership. At another moment, Wu Yurong comments to Wu Chen that they have talked for too long. Finally, she asks him to lie down and let her take control. Wu Yurong sits on the bed and comments that she needs to take another bath. On the phone, Li Ruobing asks if he has finished his work yet. He confirms that he just finished and asks why she hasn't gone to rest yet since she was waiting for his call. Li Ruobing explains that she is working overtime at the company and won't be returning home that night. She then asks him to tell her what he is doing in Modu, and Wu Chen explains the plan involving Wu Yurong and Gu Ruibo. After a few moments, Li Ruobing comments that the other woman was lucky to make billions in profit by sleeping with him. Wu Yurong approaches, takes the phone, and tells Li Ruobing, "It's not like you to be so jealous." Li Ruobing decides that she will not allow Wu Yurong to do as she pleases. She denies being jealous and warns him to prepare for the treatment he will receive when he returns to Donghai. He then asks if this treatment will be like last time. Wu Chen replies that he is looking forward to it, while Wu Yurong merely observes his reaction. Li Ruobing calls him shameless and informs him that Ding Rui Long called, saying he will go to Donghai to apologize in person. He asks if any time has been set, and hearing that it hasn't, informs her that he will return in 2 days. Wu Yurong reflects on the fact that Ding Rui Long is going to Donghai. She then asks Wu Chen what he intends to do. He replies that he will do something interesting. Wu Yurong approaches and asks if Li Ruobing's treatment will also be interesting, and he confirms that it will. Then, she gets even closer and says that she also wants that something interesting. Wu Chen lifts her and warns that she will need some mental preparation. The next day, he wakes up and finds a note on the pillow beside him. The message says that she has returned to Donghai and reminds him to go treat her. Then, he picks up his phone and comments that it's a good time to meet He Shuqing. Wu Chen exchanges messages with her, and the two agree to meet at her house in Dongpu. He arrives at a residential area near New Century Park. A young girl passes by him, and he recognizes her as He Xingxing. He then calls her by name. The young girl turns around and asks who he is, and if by any chance she knows him. He Shuqing runs down the street, calling for Xingxing and asking her not to run away. The young girl hides behind Wu Chen and gestures for him to remain silent. She then kneels and pleads with him to do her a favor. He Shuqing approaches and asks if he saw her 14-year-old daughter, who just ran off. Wu Chen merely clears his throat before saying anything. Soon after, He Shuqing finds her hidden daughter and pulls her by her clothes, asking if she is playing hide-and-seek with her. With her hand on the girl's shoulder, she thanks Wu Chen for his help. He replies that it was nothing and asks if the argument between the two was because of a drawing. He Shuqing confirms, surprised, and wonders how he knows about that, about them, and about the drawing. Then, Wu Chen reveals that he is Mr. Xing Chen, the person who has been receiving Xing Xing's sketches. He then formally introduces himself as Wu Chen, and both shake hands. He Shuqing introduces her daughter and asks her to greet the teacher, but the girl realizes there is no escaping now. The mother apologizes for her daughter's behavior and invites Wu Chen upstairs to talk. Once inside the house, she invites him to lunch, and he accepts. He Shuqing asks him to sit down or observe the gallery, explaining that she will be in the kitchen. Wu Chen then turns to admire the art gallery. At that moment, He Xing falls to the floor and questions him. "You hit me." He Xing asks if the teacher finds that funny, but he continues to observe her in silence. Next, she prepares for the next act. Leaning against the door, she asks the teacher not to do that. Soon after, she asks if he isn't even a little scared yet. He questions why he should be afraid since she's the one acting strangely, and the girl threatens to call her mother. Wu Chen asks if she really thinks her mother would believe that someone who just met her would suddenly attack her. She reminds him that there isn't a boy in her class who isn't infatuated with her. Then she states that she can tell exactly what everyone is thinking and doesn't believe he's any different. The young woman stands up and declares that no mother would go against her own daughter, demanding that he leave and give up being her teacher. However, Wu Chen replies that he won't leave because he never gives in to threats. Then, she calls for her mother, who asks from the other room what happened. Wu Chen reveals that his phone was recording the entire conversation. The girl realizes the recording is still ongoing. He Shuqing appears at the door and asks her daughter why she called her. Trying to change the subject, Xing says she just wanted to ask for ribs for lunch. Her mother asks if that's all, and the young woman confirms, saying they are hungry. Then, He Shuqing agrees to cook and asks her daughter to obey the teacher before leaving. Alone with him, the girl asks if it's not disgusting for a teacher to record his students. He replies that what's more disgusting is a student threatening a teacher with false accusations, and she is surprised to realize he was prepared. Wu Chen explains that he's always on guard against popular girls whom the boys in class love so much. He warns her not to cause any more trouble, or her mother will hear the recording and discover that her daughter likes to incriminate others. The girl understands that with that recording, the teacher won't leave her alone. Because of this, she decides she needs to find a way to get the audio. Changing her attitude, she apologizes and says her stomach isn't feeling well and she needs to go to the bathroom. Wu Chen simply replies. The young woman approaches a door and calls for her sister Shan. Sitting in the bathroom, He Xing says on the phone, "Someone is bullying me." On the other end of the line, a male voice offers to gather 100 people to help her. She then imagines Wu Chen begging for forgiveness after being beaten up. Upon leaving the bathroom, the young woman wonders how long the teacher will be able to remain calm. Suddenly, her mother appears at the door and congratulates her. He Shuqing then questions her for hiding in the bathroom, warning that that old trick won't work this time. The girl denies it and insists that she really just needed to use the bathroom. Not caring, her mother tells her to make the most of her time and learn to draw with the teacher before they eat. In front of the screen, He Xing tells the teacher, "We can start." While Wu Chen explains a technique, she just watches him, maintaining a smile on her face. Half an hour later, He Shuqing announces that dinner is ready. During the meal, the daughter asks for permission to go out in the afternoon, explaining that the teacher could teach her to draw in a real environment. Her mother turns to teacher Wu, who simply agrees with the idea. Already outside, walking with him, the young woman says, "It's here." Wu Chen suggests they enter a nearby sports arena. However, he realizes he wasn't brought there for a drawing lesson when he notices the group waiting for them. One of the men comments that he had finally been waiting for him for a long time. He Xing takes advantage of the distraction and without delay, hands the bag to Wu Chen. Then, she waves to the group, greeting both Sister Shan and Big Brother Qi. The young woman asks why so many people were called, but Qi replies, "I wanted to see the idiot who dared to bully you." Soon after, one of the men points at Wu Chen and calls him brave for having the audacity to mess with Xin. Other members of the group mock him, saying he's so scared he can barely move. The leader then orders his men to attack. He then turns to Xin and asks what she wants to be done. In the background, one of the men recognizes Mr. Wu and decides that he needs to inform his boss as quickly as possible. The leader comments that she is too kind, and therefore he tells Wu Chen to kneel and apologize before he counts to 3. However, Wu Chen calls him Mao Qi and asks, "Does your family know how amazing you are on the streets?" Annoyed by the provocation, Mao Qi curses at him. "Bastard! In an aggressive tone, he questions his audacity, but the reply comes coldly. Why talk about bullying children instead of just fighting? Faced with this, Mao Chi stares at him, wanting to know who he really is. Meanwhile, the other men comment, he's good at pretending. They wonder when the fight will finally begin. Mao Chi states, I've never seen anyone so arrogant in front of me. He orders his brothers to attack. At that moment, his phone suddenly rings, and he recognizes his father's ringtone asking for a minute of silence. Wu Chen comments, you're lucky. He suggests that he use the time to say his last words. The call is answered, and his father immediately asks about the troubles he's been causing. He then asks if anything was done against Mr. Wu, and if he brought a bunch of people to the park, but Mao Chi doesn't understand anything. In response, he states, I haven't done anything yet. His father orders him not to do anything, reminding him, even Uncle Gu treats him like his own father. Mao Chi confirms that Mr. Wu is present, and then receives the order to pass the phone. Turning to Wu Chen, he explains, my father wants to talk to you. The other members of the group watch, completely confused by the situation. Wu Chen answers the call and greets Chief Mao. On the other end of the line, Mao Chi's father explains that it was all a misunderstanding and asks for forgiveness for his son's foolishness. Wu Chen replies, it's all right. Chief Mao thanks him and promises to discipline his son. The call ends with the justification that there is still much to do. Soon after, the cell phone is returned to Mao Chi, accompanied by the question of whether the fight will still happen, but he quickly apologizes, saying, I didn't know about the friendship between you two. Mao Chi's men exchange glances, not understanding what happened or how that kid ended up becoming their uncle. The girls watch from afar, and curious, one of them asks, how did Big Brother Chi call the teacher? Xing Xing replies, he seemed to have said, Uncle Wu. Mao Chi shouts at his own men, ordering them, shut up and apologize to Uncle Wu. Then he hits one of them, questioning, are you stupid for not understanding the situation? One of the men immediately bows in apology, and the others decide to follow their boss's example. Thus, the entire group bows before Wu Chen, asking for forgiveness. Showing no interest, he merely comments, you're acting like gangsters. It's past time for you to leave. Mao Chi turns to his men and orders, everyone return. Uncle Wu has already spoken. Soon after, he bids farewell, saying, I'm leaving too. Xing Xing takes the chance to flee, as she didn't imagine everything would end this way. However, Wu Chen holds her by the hoodie and asks, where do you think you're going? Turning quickly, she says, it was all a misunderstanding. She begs him not to tell her mother and promises to obey him in the future. Faced with this, he merely asks, is that really true? She confirms, stating, you're much better than Big Brother Chi and I'll follow you. At that moment, Wu Chen receives a message inviting him for a drink on the 5th floor of the Golden Regal KTV. Then he tells Xin that he will teach her to draw the next day and asks her to go home first, to which she agrees. A man approaches and invites Mr. Wu to come in and sit down. Once seated, he asks, what are Chief Gu and Chief Mao doing here? Gu Ruibo and Mao Rusong enter the room, soon followed by Mao Chi. Without hesitation, Mao Rusong slaps his own son. He then explains, I wanted to give an explanation to Wu Chen, and that's why I brought Gu Ruibo as a witness. Wu Chen merely comments, Chief Mao doesn't need to worry about matters between children. Grateful for his understanding, the man shows kindness and hands him a card so he can relax. Sometime later, Wu Chen enters a room, commenting, I'm a little sleepy. As he looks up, he sees a woman sitting on the bed. He recognizes her as Zhuang Xiaodi, the woman who was supposed to be reserved for Ding Ruilong, and considers the situation quite interesting. Zhuang Xiaodi turns around, surprised, and asks, are you Mr. Wu? She then approaches and offers to help him undress, commenting, you look tired. Shortly after, she suggests he take a bath and points to the bathroom, to which Wu Chen agrees. While he is in the bathtub, Zhuang Xiaodi enters and asks, is the water temperature pleasant? He replies, I believe so. Then she offers, I'll get in the bathtub and rub your back. Already in the water, Wu Chen asks, are you Xiaodi? The girl is surprised he knows her name. He states, not only do I know your name, but I also understand how you feel seeing me. This confuses her. He then questions, aren't you a little happy? Shortly after, he adds, that's because I'm not the pot-bellied old man you imagined meeting. Wu Chen touches her chin and comments, I know you've never had a boyfriend. How do you intend to serve me without experience? A flashback reveals that her parents had accumulated a debt of over 5.7 million yuan, living in despair because of creditors. For that reason, Zhuang Xiaodi started working 3 jobs every day whenever she wasn't at school. Even after years of saving, she discovers that her parents' debt had increased to over 8 million due to loan sharks. Still in the flashback, a man offers her a deal to clear her family's debts if she agreed to serve a big shot. Back in the present, she decides she will do her best to fulfill the boss's order, as she has been put to the test. Zhuang Xiaodi admits to Wu Chen, although I have no experience, I did my homework. However, he reveals that he was just joking. Already in bed, she asks, "Can I turn off the lights?" He replies, "You are in charge and can do whatever you want." Lying down, he recognizes that Zhuang Xiaodi really prepared herself. The next morning, she sees him already dressed and asks, "Are you leaving?" Wu Chen holds her face and asks, "Don't treat me with such formality. I'm not an affectionate person." He then tells her, "Rest well, you must be exhausted. I promise to return as soon as I resolve my affairs." Elsewhere, a woman asks Professor Wu, "Why don't you come to my house? My daughter Xinshin is waiting for you for class." While drinking coffee, Wu Chen reflects on the possibility of going to Donghai. Finally, he questions, "Aren't you afraid that a man named Ding Ruilong will discover that you left the city with your daughter?" The woman reacts, realizing that Wu Chen sought her out specifically because of her connection with Ding Ruilong. At that instant, she remembers searching for an online tutor and how he took the initiative to apply for the position. Understanding that he knows her relationship with Ding Ruilong, she feels manipulated. However, Wu Chen reassures her, stating, "Ding Ruilong doesn't care, as long as you don't take Xinshin abroad." She questions him, suspiciously, asking, "Are you trying to get closer to me?" Faced with this, Wu Chen changes the subject and suggests, "Let's talk about Dong Yuan Tao." The mere mention of the name makes her react immediately. Then, he proposes, "Let's continue this conversation elsewhere." As they walk toward a hotel, she wonders why he is taking her there to discuss that matter. At the reception, the attendant asks, "Is there a reservation?" Wu Chen responds, "No, I'd like an executive suite." After the employee confirms availability, he asks for just one room. She then requests their identification documents and informs them that the suite is on the 16th floor. Already inside the elevator, the woman asks, "Why did you choose this place?" Wu Chen responds, "It's safe here and guarantees privacy." Annoyed, she confronts him, questioning, "Can't men act like normal people?" He gestures for her to be quiet and states, "We'll talk properly once we get into the room." Inside the room, Wu Chen invites her to come in and sit down, asking why she is still standing. He then sits on the bed and asks why she is still crying. The woman accuses him, saying, "You are not the gentleman I imagined, and deep down, you are no different from the others." Wu Chen replies, "There has been a misunderstanding and you don't need to apologize." But she provokes him, saying, "Do whatever you want." Lifting her dress, she asks him, "Finish it quickly and never look for me again." Facing this, he reprimanded her, saying, "You don't know who I am or why I contacted you. What would Jinshin think seeing you like that?" She confronted him, asking, "Why did you hug me? Dare you to say it wasn't intentional?" Wu Chen admitted, "The hug was on purpose." She said, "Finish what you came to do and leave." He then revealed, all of this was done deliberately because of Ding Ruilong. With his hands raised, he tried to calm her, saying, "Ding Ruilong is not here, please get dressed so we can talk." Now more composed, she asked, "What did you want to show?" Wu Chen explained, "The hallway surveillance camera recorded an image of me hugging you as we entered the room." He invited her again, "Please sit down so we can talk." The woman settled on the edge of the bed. Wu Chen explained, "Ding Ruilong is investigating your steps and will see the recordings of us entering the hotel together. Imagine what that could provoke." He Shiqing reacted to the explanation, visibly shaken. She then questioned, "Do you hold a grudge against Ding Ruilong? I think you are taking things too far." With a slight smile, Wu Chen just asked, "Do you know Li Robing?" The woman confirmed, "Yes." He stated, "Li Robing is my woman." Wu Chen continued, saying, "In the end, one of us will have to die. Not just me, but my entire family will be involved." He proposed, "If you testify to the Dong family that Ding Ruilong killed Dong Yuan Tao, the families will go to war." He added, "I already have an agreement with the Li family to break ties with the Ding family. I just need you to go to Donghai with Xinshin." Wu Chen extended his hand and said, "A free life awaits you, Miss He Shiqing." With a determined look, she accepted and stated, "I wish Ding Ruilong to die as soon as possible." Then, He Shiqing approached and suggested, "Instead of faking it, let's give Ding Ruilong a real reason." She kissed him and invited him, "Let's really consummate this." Wu Chen interrupted her, saying, "We don't need to go that far. What would Xinshin do if she found out he killed her own biological father?" He Shiqing immediately agreed, stating, "Xinshin cannot know anything." Wu Chen reinforced, "The girl must be kept away from everything. I propose sending you two abroad after the testimony, where I will continue to teach her." He Shiqing interrupted him and said, "I accept, but I have a request." While pulling her dress strap, she stated, "I want to truly betray Ding Ruilong, not just pretend." He stopped her, saying, "That would complicate the situation. You need to remain rational to cooperate with me." 2 hours later, Wu Chen puts on his jacket, stating that they have spent enough time there and it's time to go. Outside, he instructs her to pack her and Xinshin's belongings to return to Donghai the next day, and she agrees. Elsewhere, Chief Mao approaches and offers a small gesture for a signature, explaining that he heard about his departure. Wu Chen questions questions the transfer of 45% of a company's shares, valued at 200 million, for only 1 yuan, and the man replies that it is a gesture of friendship. He comments that they are already friends, but he refuses the offer because it would be inconvenient to hold shares in his name while investigating Ding Ruilong. Seeing this, Chief Mao suggests that he appoint an agent to represent him. After a few seconds, Wu Chen says, "I will call someone since the chief insists." Surprised, Zhuang Xiaodi asks if he wants her to sign the document and if it is being given to her. Sitting between the two men, she begins to wonder why she would receive shares valued at 100 million. Chief Mao clarifies that the agreement was intended for Mr. Wu, but she will sign as an agent, ensuring there will be no problems. He then encourages her to sign, assuring her that the contract is completely secure. While Zhuang Xiaodi signs the papers, Chief Mao watches intently. After that, she approaches Wu Chen and promises to do her best in the future, but he asks her to go shopping and says that he will call her later. A man opens the car door and invites Mr. Wu to get in. Inside the vehicle, Wu Chen asks why his uncle came to Magic City. The older man informs him that Ding Ruilong is on his way to Donghai and asks him about his plans. Seeing this, Wu Chen asks what his uncle expects him to do about it. He reveals that he knows about the recent attack and that Bing Bing was almost injured, but states that Ding Ruilong cannot die in Donghai right now. Wu Chen assures him that his uncle's request will be respected, although he cannot promise that Ding Ruilong will come out unharmed if he dares to go there. The elder agrees, leaving everything under his responsibility as long as Ding Ruilong does not die in the city. Wu Chen says goodbye, stating that he needs to resolve other matters and that they will meet another time. As he walks beside Zhuang Xiaodi, his phone begins to ring. He answers the call, greeting Miss Li. On the other end of the line, the woman asks when he will return to Donghai, while Zhuang Xiaodi slightly pulls his sleeve. Wu Chen replies that he will return the next day and expects to arrive around noon, adding, however, that he will bring 3 people with him. The woman asks who these people are, and he replies that she will find out as soon as she sees them. Li Ruobing asks if they are women, and, after confirmation, asks if there is anyone else, receiving a negative. With a face full of surprise, she realizes that the 3 people he will bring are women. Still on the phone, Li Ruobing confronts him about returning with 3 women after only 3 days, but Wu Chen finds her reaction strange. She asks him to stop being so indulgent, as she doesn't want her reputation to be affected. Wu Chen reassures her, saying that she can do whatever she wants with him when he returns, and asks her not to be jealous. Seeing this, Li Ruobing agrees, reminding him that he was the one who said it. Beside him, Zhuang Xiaodi asks if that was his wife on the phone, and he corrects her, stating that it is his girlfriend. She comments that the woman seemed irritated, and Wu Chen asks if she is scared. He hugs her and calms her, assuring her that as long as he is around, his girlfriend will not do anything. Sitting with her arms crossed, Li Ruobing asks Wu Chen to introduce her to the guests. Then Wu Chen introduces his girlfriend, Li Ruobing, to everyone. Soon after, he introduces Zhuang Xiaodi. Next, he introduces little He Xingxin and her mother, He Shiqing. The newcomer is recognized as the sole witness to Dong Yuantao's murder. At this moment, Li Ruobing understands that He Shiqing is there to betray Ding Ruilong and testify against him. She greets He Shiqing, welcoming her to Donghai, and receives compliments on her beauty. Finally, Li Ruobing turns to Wu Chen and comments that he always manages to surprise her. Then she turns to Zhuang Xiaodi, confirming her name. After Zhuang Xiaodi's confirmation, Li Ruobing continues with the interrogation. The host then asks the young woman's age. She replies with some caution that she is 21 years old. Li Ruobing approaches, calls her little sister, and comments that her nervousness is much better than that of people who don't understand the rules. Sensing the atmosphere, Wu Chen intervenes. He says he is tired from the trip and asks Jinxin to go play for a bit. Alone with He Shiqing, Li Ruobing directly asks her if she slept with Wu Chen. Noticing the other's reaction, she concludes that the answer is affirmative. He Shiqing quickly apologizes, explaining that she took the initiative as a form of retaliation against Ding Ruilong. She adds that she is on medication and has no intention of causing any trouble for the couple. Li Ruobing reassures her, stating that she doesn't blame her, as she doesn't believe there's any woman Wu Chen wouldn't sleep with. Given this, she decides it's time to clarify things with the women involved with him. With her arms crossed, she announces that he and her daughter will stay for dinner, while she and Zhuang Xiaodi will go out to eat. Wu Chen merely agrees, saying, "I will do whatever you decide." Later, as the two are leaving, they end up surrounded by a group of men who greet Mr. Wu. He comments to Li Ruobing that this was what he was talking about, but she states that she is not in the mood to discuss. 2 women approach and greet the couple, pretending not to be intimate. One of them gets closer to Wu Chen, calls him bad man, and then kisses his face, asking, "Did you miss me?" Li Robing reacts with disdain, while Chen Qian shows surprise. With her arms crossed, Li Robing asks what the other woman expects her to do about the situation. Wu Chen approaches and just asks her, "Look the other way." She complies with the request and wipes off the lipstick mark left on his face. Zhuang Xiaodi watches the entire scene, finding it difficult to adapt to this kind of environment. Wu Chen turns to Chen Qian and asks, "Why are you standing there?" And the young woman replies, "There is nothing wrong." Still, she decides to stop pretending, feeling disrespected. Su Qingying approaches and calls Wu Chen, husband, saying that she learned new dishes for him. Chen Qian reacts immediately, realizing that Qingying is about to confront her. Li Robing understands that Qingying is using simple methods to change the course of the conversation. Meanwhile, Zhuang Xiaodi wonders if she is truly qualified to remain by Mr. Wu's side. Wu Chen merely suggests they place their order first. He then asks Qingying if there is any problem with her company's board of directors. She replies that, with his help, no one would dare cause difficulties. She adds that she would love to spend every day by his side if she weren't so busy. Another woman, Wu Yurong, turns to him and asks why he didn't tell Qingying about their involvement. Li Robing takes a sip of wine and explains that she gathered everyone there so they could get to know each other and avoid unnecessary problems in the future. At that moment, she realizes that she will hardly have a chance to ask Qingying for help in dealing with Wu Yurong. Wu Yurong asks if all that effort is just for everyone to recognize her as the official girlfriend. Li Robing replies that the responsibility is all of theirs. Another woman comments, surprised, that she didn't expect even the legendary career-focused businesswoman Mrs. Wu to be involved. Wu Yurong replies that she couldn't help it, as Mr. Wu is someone very special. She adds that Chen Qian, still a student, also surprised her. Chen Qian states that she met Wu Chen even before Qingying. Given this, Li Robing declares, since Chen Qian met him first, in the future, everyone should call her Sister Zhao. Su Qingying suggests that now that the position of the eldest sister has been defined, they should also organize the other positions. Chen Qian states that she doesn't care about the rest, as long as she's not treated as the youngest, since she was the first to meet Wu Chen. She then hugs Li Robing and asks, "Please decide for me in the future." The other woman agrees, calling her Sister Zhao. Then Wu Yurong approaches Wu Chen and asks where he intends to sleep that night. Zhuang Xiaodi observes the scene, realizing that Wu Yurong begins competing for attention immediately after their positions have been defined. Li Robing intervened, saying that Wu Chen had just returned from Magic City and that it wouldn't be reasonable for him not to go home. Seeing this, he agreed and stated that everyone would leave. Su Xingying and Qian Qian also expressed a desire to go to his house. Wu Chen commented that the situation was getting out of control and decided it was better to go back, as Xiaodi had just arrived, and there were still things to resolve between him and Robing. Wu Yurong said goodbye, wishing he wouldn't get too tired that night. Back home, Wu Chen explained that he, Shuqing, and Xinxin were already asleep, that they would rent a house the next day, and that Zhuang Xiaodi would stay with them for now. In her room, Zhuang Xiaodi listened to the sounds coming from upstairs. Lying beside her sleeping daughter, he, Shuqing, also heard what was happening. Elsewhere, a young woman was on the phone when she was approached by a woman who introduced herself as An Menglin. Song Xuaner was surprised to realize she was talking to the famous An Menglin. She remembered who the woman was and asked if she was really being sought after by her. An Menglin said, "I really liked your music." She invited her to go to her company for a talk if she didn't have a contract with anyone. Then, she asked if Song Xuaner could introduce her to Mr. Wu Chen, whom she also wanted to meet. The young woman agreed to get in touch after speaking with Professor Wu Chen, and shortly after shouted that something big had happened. Song Xuaner told her mother she would be out for a while, and the woman asked Wu Chen what happened to his composer. Wu Yurong decided to accompany them to see what the problem was. At her house, Song Xuaner introduced Senior Wu Chen, whom she had spoken about earlier. She explained that he also studied at Donghai University, and that her mother insisted on meeting him after his music became popular. The woman introduced herself as Wu Yurong, and Wu Chen returned the greeting. She asked his age and, upon hearing he was 22, commented on the age difference with her daughter, and asked if he was a native of Donghai. He replied that he came from a small inland town. Wu Yurong asked what he usually did at home, but Song Xuaner interrupted her, asking why so many questions. Then, the young woman handed a contract to Wu Chen, explaining that his songs had been very successful. She asked him to look at the document while she went to the bathroom. Alone with him, Wu Yurong asked if he preferred to be called Xiao Wu or husband. Wu Chen merely replied, "I will review the contract." She stood up and stated that she wouldn't accept him being cold that night since he had spent the previous day with Li Rubing. Wu Chen asked her to sit back down carefully, but the quick response came, "Xuan Xuan will still be a while in the bathroom." At that moment, Song Xuaner returned and caught her mother hugging the senior. Wu Yurong turned, tried to explain the situation, but her daughter ran off, stating, "I don't want to hear anything." Seeing this, Wu Chen decided he would need to restart everything for the sake of both of them, assuring Wu Yurong that they would have a proper conversation later. In silence, he reflected that the day had been particularly unlucky for something like this to happen. A few hours later, already inside the car, he thought that, besides the incident with Sister Rong and Song Xuan, other things had also occurred. The scene returned to the moment when Wu Yurong, sitting on the sofa, asked how she should call him. Soon after, she stood up, complaining that he was being cold after having spent the previous day with Li Rubing. Wu Chen then warned her that she should sit down in 3 seconds, or she would regret it. Confused by the reaction, she approached and asked, "What's going on?" He stared at her and made a gesture for her to stop immediately. At that moment, Song Xuaner announced that she had remembered something important to tell the senior and gave up going to the bathroom. Wu Yurong quickly sat back down, narrowly escaping being caught by her daughter, while wondering how Wu Chen had managed to predict that. The young woman then informed the senior that An Menglin wanted to hire her and had also shown interest in hiring him. Upon hearing An Menglin's name, Wu Chen remembered a problematic reincarnation cycle he had with her in the past. Song Xuan asks the senior if she can give his number to An Menglin, and at the same time, suggests they sign a contract together. At that moment, her mother, Wu Yurong, interrupts her to question the decision to sign with the company without having discussed it beforehand. Seeing this, Xuan approaches, hugs her mother, and pleads with her to let her sign, promising she will take music seriously and that it won't affect her studies. After a moment's thought, Wu Yurong agrees, but imposes the condition of participating in the entire process to know exactly what is happening. Excited by the answer, the young woman celebrates and states that now everything depends on the senior. Sitting at the table, Wu Chen replies that, out of consideration for Wu Yurong, he will allow her daughter to have his number, even though he has no plans to debut. Then, a woman stands up to call An Menglin and asks everyone to sit down for a moment. Wu Yurong casually comments if Xuan Xuan wouldn't suddenly appear, and Wu Chen stares at her, saying, "It's better if she doesn't sit on my lap." Surprised, she asks how he became a psychic and if he could tell her. He just smiles and returns the question, wanting to know what exactly she would like to hear. Changing her mind, Wu Yurong says it's nothing and asks him to forget about it. Shortly after, Wu Chen stands up to leave and asks her to tell Miss Song to send a message if she wants to schedule a time for a song. She watches him leave and comments to herself that this man with mysterious powers is truly impressive. Later, at Old Dao's lodge in Xiqing district, a man calls for Mr. Wu. After asking where the person is, Wu Chen hears from the host that she is inside and receives an invitation to accompany him. As soon as he enters, he tells Jiang Chuan that, since he is there, he will not be able to escape or die without his permission, advising him to abandon useless ideas. At that moment, he remembers that before restarting, he only intended to do a test, but he ended up finding Jiang Chuan, which turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Trapped, Jiang Chuan wonders how Wu Chen knew he would to avoid causing problems for the young master, finding him even stranger than he had imagined. Without hesitation, Wu Chen states that Jiang Chuan, Ding Ruilong, and Li Ruotin want his death, and therefore the best choice now is to cooperate. The Tide Man asks how he can be sure that, by providing the information, Wu Chen will be able to confront the young master and the Ding family. In response, he mentions the difficulties for Jiang Chuan's wife and children to live in peace in the United States, threatening to cause an accident or hand them over to Ding Ruilong. At that moment, Jiang Chuan realizes that no one from the Ding family knows his relative's address, but he understands that if he doesn't betray the young master, they will die at Wu Chen's hands. Approaching, Wu Chen repeats that the best choice is to follow him, because between him and Ding Ruilong, one of them will certainly die. Jiang Chuan stares at him, sweating coldly and looking extremely exhausted. Wu Chen notices the relief on his face. Then, he orders his men to release the ropes and take care of him, making it clear that he will remain there for now. The two readily agree and assure Mr. Wu that there is no need to worry. Checking his phone, Wu Chen sees that it is 4:15 and deduces that the two people he is waiting for must already be on their way to the cafe on Jingyang Street. 20 minutes later, he waits, sitting at a table in the cafe. A couple arrives punctually, and he observes them carefully, commenting to himself, "Not bad at all." In the video, a man asks if the woman will return home, while she replies that she needs to go because old Who would get suspicious if she didn't show up. In a cautious tone, he asks if her husband suspected anything, but she denies it, explaining that there was just a casual question about his wife. The man then reveals that he hit his own wife during their last fight, causing the woman to ask if she suspects anything. Before she can continue, he interrupts her, offers a banana, and suggests they head to a hotel afterward. In the video, the woman asks why he can't be decent, to which he replies by asking if it isn't precisely this lack of decency that she appreciates. Wu Chen, responsible for recording the meeting, comments that it's time to meet Brother Lei. Shortly after, he calls Xiao Di and informs her that since Robing went to work, he will pick her up to go to Zhizhen Mansion together. Upon their arrival, a woman asks Mr. Wu to sit down and explains that the godfather is on a call, but will be down shortly. Zhuang Xiaodi, who accompanies Wu Chen, recognizes the hostess as the star Tao Manying and realizes that his circle consists of rich and influential people. Then, Tao Manying serves Mr. Wu a cup of tea. In the office, Lei Chung ends a call and states that he no longer wishes to talk about that matter. Turning, he greets Wu Chen and asks who the beautiful young woman beside him is. Wu Chen calmly introduces her as his woman, Zhuang Xiaodi. Lei Chung suggests that Man Ying talk with the younger sister, while he and Wu Chen head to the office, commenting that he was suspended from the circle. Once alone, Wu Chen explains that Ding Ruilong intends to take advantage of the power of the Hongfa group, which belongs to the Lei family, and will try to get close to him. Furthermore, he claims to have a video recorded that afternoon that can help Brother Lei resolve the situation. Curious, Lei Chung asks what kind of video it would be. Without hesitation, Wu Chen suggests that he take a look himself. After watching the content, Lei Chung declares, "That really saved my life." Lei Chung recognizes the man in the video as his deputy general manager, who took over the company's operations after his suspension, while identifying the woman as Hu Xilin's wife. He then explains that Hu Xilin is a long-standing supplier to the Hongfa group and also the chairman of Zhirui Electronics from Donghai. He then reports that he was a friend of Lei Yu and that it was Hu who called him when he entered the house, trying to convince him to break the contract with Manying. He further adds that Ding Rilong said he wanted to go to Donghai to talk, and that the losses resulting from the breach of contract would be compensated by the Ding family. Wu Chen comments that Ding Rilong does not give up on destroying the merits of Huankai Cosmetics, and at the same time praises Brother Lei's good strategy of alternating pressure and concessions. Indignant, Lei Chung refuses to pay attention to it, and states that no one will ruin what was promised to Manying. Finally, he declares that they are trying to treat him like a monkey, but he makes it clear that he will not allow it. Meanwhile, Tao Manying asks Zhuang Xiaodi why she seems reluctant to leave and how long she has been with Mr. Wu. Zhuang replies, "It hasn't even been a few days." Tao advises her to be careful, as Mr. Wu's girlfriend, Li Robing, is not an easy person to deal with, but the young woman assures her that she is great and has been kind to her. Tao Manying comments that seeing Miss Zhuang reminds her of herself when she started following her godfather, and therefore advises her to be more proactive. She explains that to win a man's heart, one should not listen to the internet, as there are countless key points to understand. Then she comforts her, saying, "I cannot let you suffer like that, and I will teach you better later." Then, she turns to the stairs and informs her godfather that there is someone at the door. Lei Chun informs that it is old Hu Xilin, explaining that he didn't have time to see him earlier, while Wu Chen comments on his temperament. Soon after, Lei Chung asks if he intends to use that video. Wu Chen simply replies, "I will show it." Faced with this, he questions if showing it directly would be a good idea, but Wu Chen states that Hu Xilin himself is not innocent either. He continues, revealing that Hu Xilin has more than one mistress, and furthermore, a prenuptial agreement would ensure that the unfaithful party would leave the divorce with nothing. Lei Cheng then realizes that, since their company is worth over 3 billion, the video proving his wife's infidelity is worth 1.5 billion. Therefore, he suggests that they can give the video as a gift to old Hu. Wu Chen corrects him, saying, "It is Brother Lei who will be offering the gift, and thus he can ask for a small favor in return." He proposes that Lei Chung let Hu Xilin know about his affair with Lei Yu, so that he will be the first to side with them. Lei Ching understands that this is far from a small favor, as it actually means forcing old Hu to join him. Wu Chen explains that this will force Hu Xilin to deal with Zhu Haobo, and furthermore, Hu's own infidelity makes the outcome of the divorce uncertain. Finally, the host asks if this wouldn't just be a way to threaten old Hu. Wu-chen denies it, stating, "That is not a threat, but rather the art of communication." Confident in the plan, Lei-cheng leaves the matter in his hands and asks for old Hu to be allowed in. At the door, Hu Xilin suggests waiting downstairs, as old Lei has guests. Still, he receives an invitation to enter, as he is not considered a stranger. Then Lei-cheng turns to introduce Brother Wu to the visitor. Wu-chen greets Chief Hu, who responds cordially, and then they are invited to sit down. Hu Xilin expresses concern about Lei-cheng's sudden move against his own brother, but is reassured upon hearing that it does not concern him. Confused, the visitor questions the meaning of it, arguing that it is best not to interfere in matters of large families. Lei-cheng retorts, explaining that Manying's breach of contract with Huankai Cosmetics would eventually destroy her. Hu Xilin suggests that Miss Tao feign an injury to avoid embarrassment, but Lei-cheng denies any friendship with Li Robing. Intrigued, the man asks why he is getting involved with Huankai Cosmetics, receiving the answer that it is all because of his brother. At this moment, it is revealed that Li Robing is Wu-chen's girlfriend. Surprised, Hu Xilin turns and asks, "Are you in fact Wu-chen?" He then realizes that the entire plan to deceive Li Robing has been completely exposed. He abruptly stands up and accuses old Lei of having deliberately deceived him. Lei-cheng thinks to himself that it's almost time to stir up the situation even more so that Brother Wu can enter the scene. Hu Xilin addresses Wu-chen, admitting, "You must have heard me ask old Lei to deceive Miss Li." Wu-chen affirms that he understands Chief Hu's good intentions, but reveals that the true mastermind behind the car accident 10 years ago was Lei Yu. He then invites him to watch the video recorded that same afternoon. He explains that Zhu Haobo is a confidant of Lei Yu, and therefore it is only a matter of time until he incites Hu's wife to take his property. Lei-cheng agrees with Brother Wu and advises Hu not to argue with his wife, suggesting instead that he send his mistresses abroad for a period. Upon hearing this, Hu Xilin wonders how old Lei found out about the mistress and when the information leaked. Wu-chen continues, saying, "Now, all that remains is to confirm if Lei Yu is the mastermind, because after that, it will be Zhu Haobo's turn."